All right. Somebody asked in the questions, what did we just miss in the last webinar? Actually, nothing. It was an introduction to Link Emperor webinar for our friend Laura Betterly and her list. And some of her people are joining us on this call as well. So if you just came in from the Laura webinar, say hey in the chat. We'll say hey back to you. The thing that was funny about that other webinar is somehow like we screwed up the configuration and nobody's names worked. So every person that was talking in the chat, like the name was friend.
It was interesting. It's a lot more difficult to try to communicate with 200 people when they all look exactly the same.
It was like chaos because we were like, please type your name in, and like no one did it.
Yeah, nobody remembers, especially like an hour after we reminded them to. Hi, Robert. It's nice to have you from the previous webinar and with your name now showing properly.
Yeah, we
Very
got
exciting.
Jeanette with us as well, and Brent and Jazz. Hey guys, hey Ed. Is Ed the one that made? Yeah, Ed. Is yours the one that messed up on the order? If yours looks good, then it's good. Okay, we're gonna make sure we get that fixed. Make sure just go ahead and email us just in case we forget because we've got like 1,000 things going on right now. Um,
Yep. Oh, okay. He already did. Cool. Sweet.
again,
All right. So
very
this is going to be a lot of fun today because it's not just going to be me and Kevin talking. We've also got a couple surprise guests that are other SEO experts that have some really cool stuff to say. Some people that have completely successfully avoided the Penguin 2.1 issue and their strategies for local clients. And we've got some other people that have done some real deep dive analysis themselves. So you're going to not only get to hear me and Kevin, but you're going to get to hear a couple other people speak about what they've been seeing and some of the trends that we're noticing with Penguin 2.1. And also we're going to do a little touch on the Hummingbird, although it doesn't seem that Hummingbird affected nearly as many people as 2.1 did. So
it seems like we had a
that'll be
lot of
fun.
sites get helped by Hummingbird.
Yeah, it really did. Hummingbird actually pushed up a lot of our people. So that's cool. And 2.1, I mean, 2.1 is a penalty. So that's the kind of the difference is that Hummingbird is a rewrite of the algorithm. We'll get into that stuff later. But the rewrite of the algorithm is cool because a lot of people can see getting pushed up. Penalty really just penalizes, unless somebody else above you got penalized and then your site goes up. But Penguin updates are just a pain. So, oh well.
All right. Okay, well, Carson has informed me that the Camtasia recording is now up and running, so I think we can perhaps start if
Hello.
you're ready. Hey, Roger, we went ahead and added you to the thing. I'm going to mute you for now, though, if that's okay. Um, yeah, I just want to make sure our
Great.
guest panelists get added to the thing here.
Okay, the other panelist that should be coming on is Josh Baczynski. So let's see if he's in here yet.
Yeah, it looks like no. Hey, Jeff. Jeff just said, hey, good to see you. Jeff was actually the first one to register for this webinar. I think he clicked the link the second I sent it out.
All right, no big deal.
All right, do you want to go ahead and get started on this? The good news on this one is we've got nowhere to be tonight. We do have to be at the airport at 8 in the morning, so we'll stay up as late as we reasonably can and try to get this all figured out.
Yeah. So let's see who's on here. Is Carson on this one yet?
Carson's on, Steve's on. I think we're all good.
Okay.
Oh, so the
All
six
right.
people, the 6 people that emailed us about talking, if we didn't get back to you, it's because we were not sure we'd have room for you. So just we're gonna keep you in mind, and if we have extra room at the end, we're gonna bring you on.
Yeah, and so Carson, keep an eye out for Josh Baczynski. If he shows up in the list of names at some point in the next few minutes, just let us know. Hopefully he'll just type in something when he gets here or whatever. But we'll see about that. Because if he does get here, then I'd love to have him talk for a couple minutes.
All right. Well, do you want to go ahead and just get started with this?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So we've got slides here, and we'll go through them. Do you want me to go through them, or how do you want to do this?
I don't know. Let's see. All right. I guess I'll start it out.
I'll start or whatever.
You want to start? All right, you start. Go for
All
it.
right, so we're here to talk about Penguin 2.1. What is Penguin 2.1? Well, it's the 5th update of Penguin. So a lot of you guys kind of know Google's updates have animal names. It started with Panda somehow, and now Google has kind of embraced it and started creating these animal names. So Panda is basically about like it's more complicated than this, but Panda is all about the content. Hummingbird is really about searcher intent and the type of pages. But Penguin at the end of the day is more or less a penalty about your link profile. So I've got a quote there from Search Engine Journal who says that Penguin's job is to devalue manipulative links. So of course our job is to figure out exactly what do they consider manipulative links so that we can make sure that our links don't look manipulative.
Yeah, and also we should mention that we're going to try and do a variety of different levels of knowledge in this thing. So, we're going to try and help out some people that are a little bit newer, but we're also definitely going to be diving into some more advanced stuff for you guys. And so, like, if you get confused at some point, don't worry about it. You can go back and we're gonna mail this out again so you can watch it again. But we're going to try and cater more to advanced guys so that we can really talk specifically about how to handle all this stuff, because it's detailed stuff. Like the difference between 2.0 and 2.1 is so slight that it's got a ton of people scratching their heads going, what really was the tiny difference? Why did my site get hit for this one but not for the last one? That kind of thing. So in order to try and cover that stuff, we're going to have to go into some real details. So we may not pull any punches occasionally in the jargon, but we're also going to try and do kind of a more low level intro just for people who don't really know.
Here's actually a good thing. Can you just type in the chat, everybody, do you consider yourself beginner, intermediate, or advanced, so we can just kind of know who's on the call? I mean, we know a lot of you guys. I mean, we know obviously Jeff. I saw Todd's on the call, Brian's on the call, we got Rob on the call. A lot of dudes that we know that are super smart guys are on the call. Is Joe here? I don't see Joe yet. So there's a lot of advanced guys here for sure. It looks like we're getting a flood of advanceds and a few intermediates and a small number of beginners. So that's kind of what we planned for.
Yep, especially if you guys are from the last webinar, just kind of hang on to your hats. And, if you're more of a beginner, don't worry about it. Just try and pick up as much as you can. The cool thing is, you're going to be getting dunked straight into advanced SEO stuff. So if you can figure out some of this, you'll be way ahead of the curve if you're a beginner. So it'll be cool.
All right, let's go ahead and go forward here. All right. So the first thing that we need to talk about is theories versus proof. So this top thing is from Bobby, which is just that the SERPs in general have been, more volatile this year than they kind of ever have been. Especially we notice this just by looking at our own ranking graphs and at our customers' ranking graphs. There's been just a lot of shifting around and movement. And you should assume...
and this... I've talked to a ton of people, old school guys that have been ranking since the late 90s, and everybody agrees that they've never seen as much randomness and volatility just in general, even for sites that generally hold down a #1 position or have been for a long time. Sometimes things will just disappear for 2 or 3 days and then they're back. And Google's just been messing with things all over. And we've got some theories about that and Google's whole ministry of misinformation and all that, but whatever. So either way, just don't assume that everything's going to be Penguin related, unless you kind of have a better idea about it at least.
The other thing that we are always very wary of are just highly overbroad claims, that are really tough to substantiate. For example, like it's all about spun content, or you now need handwritten content. Those things may be true to an extent, but we are, oftentimes very hesitant to accept something like that as a black and white description.
Right, especially because the problem with this update was that it's multifaceted. So, from one site to the next, people are getting hit by different things. So there's a lot of people out there on forums where you'll go and read something and that'll say something like, oh, they went after, spun here or something like that. And that may be true in part, or at least part of the penalty for certain sites has that written in there. But you don't know. There's a lot of complexity here, so just hold your hold your opinions until we've kind of walked through the different variety of things that you might have gotten hit by.
Yeah, and I just want to do a quick statement for all those people that came in from the other webinar. We're talking right now about the Penguin penalty. If you guys don't have any penalties, a lot of this is really going to not apply to you, but you'll probably find it interesting.
No, but I think it's useful because by learning what the penalties are, you can figure out what Google's going after. You can learn what not to do.
Right.
I mean, I think that's the most useful thing here. I mean, it really sucks when you get hit, but the fact is you can extrapolate a ton of ideas and information about the future based on kind of how Penguin penalties have been evolving a little bit and specifically what they're going after. So it's good education if you weren't hit, and hopefully it'll be helpful if you were hit.
All right. Matthew says he's having audio problems. How are you guys else doing with the audio? Is that working okay for some people? Oh, everyone else says good. Good. All right. Sorry about that, Matthew. We'll do our best. Worst case, we will mail the thing. It's sometimes hard with these 200-person webinars because there's just so much bandwidth going on. But all right. So yeah, just another thing, again, just getting back to the slide, rankings are very complex. There are very few people that have access to enough data to really evaluate. We have access to tons of ranking data, and it's still been hard even for us to evaluate this one. It's really been there's a lot of different things we've been looking at. We've been looking at it hard for the last week. Just one final thing is that there are plenty of counterexamples we've seen to a lot of these suggestions. We're still seeing tons of spun content still ranking. We've got proof of that. We've got plenty of handwritten content that was on maybe bad sites that got hit. We've seen plenty of pages promoted only using Link Emperor that are still doing really well. And we have plenty of manually built links that we've seen attracting penalties. But with all that said, there are still broad suggestions that we can make and things that we can take away from this update. You got anything you want to add to that, Bobby?
No, that's pretty self-explanatory. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. All right. Do you want to go on? You want to take over, or you want me to keep going?
Yeah, sure. I'll go for it. Okay. So here are some of the biggest common threads that we've seen. The main common thread is that it comes down to authority, right? And we've talked. I mean, if you're, you guys are on our mailing list and you've seen all the stuff that we've talked about over the last 2 years or so. At least a lot of you. Some of you are obviously newer, but we always talk about authority sites and parasites and kind of that band where different sites land in, where these authority sites are not getting hit by these penalties like lower authority sites are, right? So you always have to keep in mind the fact that you can get away with a ton more stuff with parasites, with YouTube videos, Amazon pages, all of that stuff. And we're going to show you some examples of SERPs that have radically changed, like Make Money Online, for instance, and some of these other real common, like classic big keywords that where you're just seeing more and more high authority sites than ever before. So the reason for that is that obviously Google, Google's all about the experience for the user. And they just, for whatever reason, they assume that, these bigger sites are going to be a better experience. I mean, it's not an assumption. It's pretty true, actually. Like, Amazon dumps millions and millions of dollars every year into making sure that their site converts better than other e-commerce stores. So obviously Google hits a home run every time they send somebody to Amazon. Why? Because there's a great user experience. So it's just changing landscape, so it's becoming harder and harder to rank like a mom and pop e-commerce store. And the problem is that they're working with just a blunt instrument rather than like a surgeon's tool, So I mean, every time they go in there and they try and make the user experience better, what they keep doing is cranking up the amount of authority sites that they're sending people to. So, part of it is things are just getting tougher down the road. There's also more competition online, and every time that they do one of these updates, you're just up against more and more people. But also, there's a lot of opportunities here where you can figure out how to really take advantage of these authority sites, and where some of our clients are using them to launder these links and doing stuff like that and getting multiple results for the same keywords and crushing their competition. So, first we're going to talk about the problems, and then we're going to talk about the solutions going forward.
Yeah, so real quick, we had a question about what exactly do we mean by authority. The answer is, high page rank, high trust factor sites. I don't
Right.
want to say specifically a metric number that we're using for this that, is superior to all other metric numbers. But basically, we're looking at things like trust rank, Moz trust, trust flow and majestic. That basic concept is what we're talking about when we talk about authority.
Yeah, and generally any site, the bigger sites that are PR7 and up, I mean, those are generally not really getting hit by these penalties, rarely, if at all, compared with what the mom and pop sites are doing. So, does that cover this slide?
That's actually an interesting question. Has anyone here does anyone here own a PR7 and up and got slapped? I don't.
Well, certain pages definitely get slapped. I mean, there's definitely sites that have been caught up. Like there's the redcross.org got caught up like a couple updates ago. I mean, they definitely slap certain sites, but for the most part, you don't see it happening too much.
All right, let's keep going then.
Yeah, I don't see anybody in the comments with any PR7 or up. Anyway, all right. Next slide.
Okay, sorry. Next slide. It's hard managing all the questions and slides and stuff. Okay, so this is kind of what we were talking about a second ago.
There we go. Yeah, like we said, we've kind of been throwing these slides together, so we might not remember if we have a slide about something. So yeah, this basically answers the question. High PR, high trust, generally some degree of editorial control. You definitely see that. Like, for instance, back when all the article sites got slapped with Penguin, you saw that like a couple of them made it out a little bit better than others. Like, I don't know, Ezine articles kind of skated away a little bit better than others and stuff. So Google tends to look at that kind of stuff a little bit. But examples are like social sites, news sites, sites with high Alexa rank and high traffic, trusted stores, basically anyone that spends a ton of money with Google, that sort of stuff.
All right, next.
Crazy proliferation of authority sites. So authority sites, like I said before, are taking up a larger and larger percentage of the SERPs than they ever were. Remember back in December when we showed the keyword golf swing was pretty remarkable because it had two of the same exact videos up at the top. And so we were showing ways that people were kind of gaming sites with parasites using like YouTube video and YouTube.com, like videojug.com and some of those other video sites. Well, check out what's ranking right now for golf swing. You have 4 videos in the top 5 results. Well, top 6, I guess, or whatever, but it's kind of absurd, right? So, like we said, more and more it's just shifting towards authority sites. And I've also been seeing multiple of the same domain ranking one after the other. So like right here, you see 3 YouTube videos in a row that's that are all just packed in together. The other day I was looking at an e-commerce term that had 3 Amazon results right in a row. So it seems like they're bringing around this like weird.
Yeah, and those other ones are authority sites too. Like howstuffworks.com is a pretty high PR. I don't actually know what it is off the top of my head, but it's high PR. VideoJug is high PR. Let's look at another one here.
Oh, yeah,
4 videos. Here's a really cool one. Make money online. I don't know if you guys remember what this SERP used to look like. I wish I had a screenshot of this from like a year ago. But this used to be like one of the most spammed out keywords imaginable
ever. It was like the ultimate. It was kind of like a I want to say something inappropriate, but it was kind of like a competition to see who's best. Is like if you could rank for make money online, it was just ridiculous. Like everybody kind of wanted to rank for that. So it used to be like John Chow's blog ranked up there, and like these little like bloggers that people literally just spent their entire lifetime writing articles for just to rank for that one keyword, that sort of stuff. And now look at these results. You've got ABC News, About.com, WikiHow.com, DailyFinance.com, which I'm pretty sure that's a press release site, HowStuffWorks.com, USAToday.com, Forbes.com, FoxNews.com. I mean, today, what is Today.com? I don't know what AddictedToSuccess.com is, but
yeah, that's the only one that
notice,
might be.
Yeah. Do you notice anything in common? These are all news sites, basically, or authority article sites like About.com and HowStuffWorks.com.
We took this screenshot on Sunday, so if it's not exactly the same, it's not exactly the same now. But Someone was asking about it.
Oh yeah, if that has changed, I wouldn't be surprised. That's the other thing is these SERPs are shuffling really, really fast right now, just because they always do right after an update.
Well, this is
So
interesting. Yeah, it does look a little bit different. Let's Google it right now and see what we
what
get.
do we got now? Let's see. Hold on.
Let's do it here. I'll do it right here. This is why it's fun to do these live. Make money online. Well, I'm still seeing basically the same SERP. ABC News, About, WikiHow, USA Today. Is that a different one?
No, I thought that was.
Oh, that's the same one. Okay, so basically the same.
It's almost the same.
Basically the same.
Yeah, it pretty much is.
Yes, Lucas is giving me shit for having a Mac. That's a bad idea. I love my Mac.
I have a PC, Lucas, so we can make everyone happy.
Yeah, we let our employees choose because we have to. I guess it's a split household.
Yeah. All right, next slide.
All right, so we had more examples that maybe we could try to pull out by Googling. Maybe we'll throw some more up there, but we want to get to more slide type content here.
Yeah, but the whole point is here, like, let's go back to that for a second, just one more second. Now, if you think about how many people spent literally years building up their blogs so that they could rank for Make Money Online, and what happened? They didn't have a chance. I mean, they didn't have a chance. Like, your blog is gone because it's all news sites now, and there's nothing. It's not a penalty that you were hit with. It's that Google is just ranking authority sites more and more. And it's like people are just getting continuously pissed off that their money site isn't ranking for the keywords like it used to or something like that. But the fact is, a lot of the time, it's just an inevitability that you need to start thinking in different ways on how to leverage other people's websites. Because the guy with the Forbes.com article, it's just a guy. I mean, go click on that one.
Here, let me do
it. That's guaranteed to be one of those Forbes.com/sites.
Yep, I'm going to do it right now.
Where it's some person who wrote an article who got a Forbes writing account, which isn't. Oh, that actually isn't the /sites. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's a real one. But this is important. Do you guys know that anyone can put articles on Forbes.com by signing up as a writer?
Yeah.
Anyone in the questions that maybe didn't know that? That could be your biggest tip of the day.
It's a big deal. And I think there's a little bit of a vetting process. I don't think they give it to everybody or whatever, but those things are ranking pretty damn well right now.
Yeah, the Forbes thing, it's not like an eZine articles where you can just post anything, but you basically, anyone can sign up as a writer, and you have to like write with some regularity. Like you have to post, but they basically will like let you write news articles that literally look exactly like news articles on Forbes.com.
It's not quite as easy as like the iReport.cnn.com. But the other factor is that you get it on Forbes' actual domain, whereas it's not the iReport subdomain. So like the iReport subdomain, I mean, I'm diving in deep for no reason into the iReport thing, but basically, you're on a subdomain, so you have to work a little bit better to rank that. Whereas this Forbes thing, you're in a directory on the Forbes website itself. So you're a couple tiers down in terms of the linking structure on the site, but you're going to get a ton more authority that way rather than like the iReport thing. So if you want to put in the time to go and be a Forbes contributor, and that's your thing, I mean, it's definitely paying off for some friends of ours right now.
Yeah, and Brian just posted the Forbes link in the chat, or he posted it in questions. I pasted it to the chat. This is literally the URL you go to sign up as a Forbes writer. So you you have to kind of like make it seem like you want to be a real writer. Like you can't say I'm an SEO and I want to post garbage articles. You have to.
You don't think that'll work?
You have to come up with some kind of scheme, but this is what people like us do, and it's great. This is really, really great. We know a guy who basically sells placements in these articles for a ton of money.
Yeah, another one you can do is Huffington Post, actually. It's kind of the same deal.
Yep, Huffington Post, Forbes, CNN, iReport. I mean, the whole point of this is that, like, this is the new paradigm. Like, the new paradigm used to be, just try to rank pages from your own blog. And as you can see, for a lot of keywords, the fact of the matter is the tide is really just turning against that. So one of our friends, Erica, who runs a competing product to us. Hey, Erica, if you're on here, she used to rank for this Make Money Blogging, and I just looked at this just now. ProBlogger is a giant blog. I mean, I would call ProBlogger itself an authority site.
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
he's one of the original.
it
He's
has
in the top. He's in the top like blogs.
it has
on,
147,000 followers. Like, you're not gonna beat that unless you like if you're getting 147,000 followers, it's not because your goal is to rank number one for this keyword.
Yeah,
You know,
and they're
it's
real
because
ones.
you have a
They're not
bigger
some,
business goal.
They're not some Fiverr followers. Anyway, let's see what else we got here.
But yeah,
Oh, coincidence. USnews.com, WikiHow.com, WikiHow.com again, Mint.com,
pretty
Ask
interesting.
Men. Copyblogger is another one of those really, really high authority blogs, actually. It's like up there with ProBlogger.
Yeah. Here we have YouTube. VentureBeat is another big news site. This one,
Yeah.
Daily Blog Tips, is probably the closest thing to one of us trying to rank a page that's on this SERP. But even he has 3,000 legitimate Google Plus followers.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's staggering. And the sad thing about it is that if you are actually trying to learn how to make money online, you aren't going to get jack shit from any of these articles. I mean, the fact is, maybe the ProBlogger article, but like beyond that, any of these U.S. news pages, they suck. But
yeah,
the point is, Google
this is going to be the
care.
worst. This is going to be the worst possible. Like, if you're trying to figure out how to make money, this article is not going to tell you shit, right? But the fact of the matter is that Google is deciding that in aggregate, they find it worth it to have authority sites ranking as opposed to sites like eZine articles, because they at least know that while the customer might not get exactly what they're looking for, they're at least not going to get scammed. You know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, like, you can, this is a really competitive term. So, like, if you go down to the second and third pages, I'm sure you're going to see more of those. But the fact is,
so here we have a clear. This is definitely like a typical SEO client trying to rank a page here. Pay per post, blog marketing. It's a company trying to rank on this keyword. And they're doing it. They're at number 11 right now.
Scroll down. Income Diary is another blog I've seen that's pretty big, I think.
Dummies
John
is a big
Chow.
blog.
Here's John Chow finally with his. I mean, that blog that he used to rank for Make Money Online and all that stuff, and he used to crush it. I mean, he probably made millions over the years just through that one keyword. But see what happened? He got dropped down to the second page, and it's not because he got hit by a penguin penalty. It's because these other sites, these authority sites, are just getting bumped up and emphasized more than they ever were. So you always have to keep that in mind with this kind of stuff. It may not be a penalty, especially if you're dropped down to the second page or third page. It's not a penalty explicitly. It may be that some of your links were devalued and we'll talk a little bit about blog networks going forward in a little bit, but it's also quite possible that authority sites just got a serious bump. So you always have to look at the individual keyword and see exactly what happened there.
And just to be clear, we're not necessarily saying that part of Penguin 2.1 itself is authority sites get a bump, but we're just saying that is something that we have noticed in the recent past.
Right. But we should move on from this and start getting more into the specific Penguin stuff.
Sorry. So let's go.
Yeah. Sorry. As we said, we are on our third hour of talking, and so we're a little crazy.
Is this useful to people? Say yes or no in the questions, and we can either shut up or
let us know if you guys are learning anything so far, at least.
All right, getting some good answers in here. All right, that's good.
All right, sweet.
Someone wants us to tell a joke. Okay. Here's a joke. Backlinks Genie.
Oh, God, stop that. That's ridiculous.
Sorry.
Okay. That's really fucked up. Okay. All right, so let's move on. Main Penguin 2.1 risk factors. Here's the real stuff. Here's the majority of what we've seen after talking to a number of different experts, watching videos of people who have done the analyses, reading in depth into the forum posts, and particularly going and looking at our own customers, seeing who got hit and who didn't, and looking at the aggregate ranking data that we've pulled up and done a little bit of analysis on. Here's what we've figured out. Basically, it seems like these Penguin 2.1 sites got hit by. Number one, mass linking directly to a low authority site. And now, if you'll notice, this is generally what people will go and flame Link Emperor about when they go and log on to the forums. They go, Link Emperor destroyed my website. And why is that? Because if you go and look at their account, they were blasting all of their links directly to a local site or something like that, and they got a penalty. Yes, that we've been advising for more than a year now that you should be using buffer sites. That's why we built it into the program and all that stuff. But so it's still a major issue. If you've been mass linking directly to a low authority site, and by low authority, we mean literally lower than like a PR7 at this point. Because what they did is they tweaked the bandwidth so that, you know, it used to be that you could a lot of the time mass link to like a PR5 or so. I mean, it's really hard to say. Like, it gets really gray, obviously. But they keep increasing that threshold so that we're seeing that even sites that were semi-authority sites
Yeah.
6 months ago are being turned just a little bit lower into less authority.
Yeah, PR5 is definitely not safe anymore. PR6 is questionable. I mean, again, yeah, we just determined that not very many people in this room own PR7 sites.
Yeah,
most of us
exactly.
wish that we did.
Yeah.
But
So the fact is, you should be using buffers, all of you, when you're linking at your site. And that's just something where, you know, like in the past, we were big proponents of the fact that negative SEO is not as easy as everybody thought it was when it first started coming out like 2 years ago. And at this point, honestly, it is way easier than it ever was to do negative SEO. It's kind of a reality that we have to deal with at this point. So buffer sites are real, and you got to use them.
yeah, a
That's
couple
it.
quick things. I am finally going to officially go on record today and state that I believe that negative SEO is now possible. And
Exactly right.
I'm now willing to say that it may have been possible in the past. It's
Yeah.
something I've resisted for a long time, but you can't look at the evidence anymore and come to any other conclusion at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely possible from the beginning of Penguin with certain things, like, you know, if you were building all to the same exact anchor, you could penalize somebody for a keyword or whatever. But now we're just seeing more than ever that entire pages are getting flagged more and more easily just by building a couple of, you know, well, maybe not a couple, but a decent amount of blog comments and stuff like that. But the corollary to this is that mass linking is still working great to high authority sites. We're seeing some of our authority pages have barely moved at all, or they've gone up, and we've got a ton of really spammy looking parasites that are holding their ranks as strongly as they ever have in the past. So up to this point, at the very least, Google is not messing with the Amazons and the YouTubes and that sort of thing that we've been, and I mean, the good news is we've been advising as many of our clients as possible to try and use these things to get multiple rankings. So hopefully, if you have been following that advice, you weren't hit too hard, because maybe, you know, instead of having 5 rankings for your keyword, now you've only got 4 or something, which ain't all that bad.
Real quick, I want to say that people are jumping in the comments asking, oh, how do I change Link Emperor settings to adjust this? We've got a whole set of slides on that. We'll come to that in a bit.
Yeah, we're going to talk about, we've made already adjustments to the default settings in Link Emperor, and certain things that weren't possible last week that are now possible within Link Emperor. And also, we have some advice, or, well, I guess not advice, but we have some hints about what's going to be coming in the future to make things really easy. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about all that stuff
And
later
on the subject of negative SEO, we don't have any slides of it, but the fact of the matter is, it just seems to me that what a lot of the things that used to be quote unquote protections from negative SEO have been tweaked to the point where maybe they don't really protect it as much. You know, we're still not to the point where we recommend trying it against your competitors. But I now am at least willing to say that it's possible.
Absolutely. And honestly, I would fully recommend people at this point go out there and play around with negative SEO, and see what happens. I mean, it sucks for the sites that you may be hitting, but the fact is, until people are doing that on a more mass scale, and Google starts getting complaints from the white hats saying that they got attacked or whatever, Google is not going to adjust their algorithm back to make things a little more safe. I think negative SEO sucks. I think most people think that it sucks, but it seems like it's a reality at this point. So it may be a useful strategy right now. And honestly, it seems like the majority of these updates come from the fact that these guys that try and play 100% white hat, they get mad because the black hats are beating them, as usual, as they always have. And they go and complain to Google, and Google makes a couple tweaks. And now Google has gone and followed their advice so far that it seems like negative SEO is kind of real. So we'll see what happens. Their sites are probably going to get hit.
All right. We're getting
Anyway.
we're getting awesome questions in the
Total
questions.
tangent. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, we're getting awesome questions in the questions, by the way. So yes, we're going to talk about recovery as a whole separate set of slides as well. And we're going to talk about setting up Link Emperor as a separate set of slides. And someone asked, what is negative SEO? Just for the newbies, negative SEO is the idea, well, there are people getting penalties. Can I get my competitor a penalty? So rather than trying to rank my own site, trying to cause a penalty to be imposed on my competitor. Now, in my opinion, that's about the most black hat thing one could do. And it's pretty outright dickish. But that's not to say that people aren't going to try it.
Right. The one thing to keep in mind, if your competitor has a decent amount of authority, don't try negative SEO on it because you might very well just stick it in the top #1 position forever. So always keep that in mind, like the amount of trust flow that your competitor's site has, because you might very well help them. But anyway, end of that negative SEO tangent for now. All right, where were we?
Low quality tier 1 articles. Yeah.
Point number 2. Now this is something that people definitely got hit with, and I honestly think that this is still a theory. All right, we're still going to throw this out there. We don't have hard evidence good enough to go out and say for sure that this has always been the penalty for everybody, but we feel at this point that it is reasonable enough to say that this is probably a penalty that's getting handed out. Low quality tier 1 article content. And the issue is, yes, it is true. Link Emperor has built a ton of low quality tier 1 articles. And so the problem there is that we're going to have to solve that issue. And we've got some solutions for you, but they may not always be as cheap as they were in the past if you're trying to deal with this stuff. So what does that mean? The exact threshold for quality is highly disputed. It may be related to the authority of the site being linked to. You know, so for instance, if you're building spun articles to an Amazon page, we already know that it doesn't work, right? I mean, it's just going to help. If you're building spun articles to like a PR4, then maybe you're there in the threshold where it might help or it might not. And we don't know exactly where the trigger is. So the point is, and you just keep pushing it up further. So the point is you have to be safe at this point unless you're using a throwaway site. But so what is low quality article content? What we think at this point is that the pages that are linked, especially if you have a local site, if you've got a local site that's low authority, like pretty much all local sites are, because it's unreasonable for a local site to have high authority, just because what local site does, that in itself would look unnatural to Google. What you want is totally manually written content surrounding the links that are pointing to that page. The good news is you don't need very many of those pages in order to rank it. In fact, we're going to show you a specific strategy for local pages that our friend Roger has been crushing with, and we're going to bring Roger on and he's going to talk about exactly what he's been doing to rank his local sites that were all completely untouched by Penguin 2.1 and how he is continuing to just make money hand over fist with all of his clients. And we're even going to make you a little bit of a done-for-you offer if you want to help you buy into that system, because right now that seems like the absolute best solution, and we know since you guys all use Link Emperor, you're kind of lazy and you probably don't want to be writing articles yourself. I certainly wouldn't. So anyway, but we'll talk about all that stuff later once Roger comes on. We'll get into more detail. Needless to say, second point is low quality tier 1 articles we see as a major red flag right now that you need to be aware of. All right, point number 3. Still, as ever before, this has always been the main thing with Penguin, was anchor text over optimization. So it's still a major factor. You must have widely diverse anchor texts. And one thing that we do believe that may have been tweaked here is we think they may have, again, increased the threshold for what is over optimization. And so you need to stay even more diverse than ever. And we're going to talk about a few examples of people who thought that they had properly optimized anchor text distribution, who we believe did not. And it's particularly easy to show with some local sites because there's not all that many keywords that they really are trying to rank for. So they tend to be the ones that go most aggressively towards a handful of 3 to 5 keywords. And we're going to talk about the difference between a keyword and a keyword tree, which, you know, is a little bit of theory, I'll be honest, but I'm pretty damn sure that it's real, because Google shows us a lot of hints about why, and how to make sure that you're actually diversifying amongst keyword trees and you're not just diversifying amongst keywords themselves, because just rearranging words that are all within the same keyword is not really diversification at this point, whereas it might have been for like Penguin 1. Penguin 2, I don't think it is anymore. And that also goes along with the Hummingbird update, which we will talk about a little bit in the future as well. And 4, you've always got to look at paid links from networks which have potentially been busted in the last update. I've seen a number of people talking about examples where, and a lot of this came from forums and places where they weren't using Link Emperor, but we've talked to a number of people who only had link networks they were using that to rank their sites, especially public link networks versus private. So like, let me define a couple things real quick just for people who aren't sure what they're talking about. A public link network is something that you can go onto Black Hat World or wherever and you can buy into. A private network is something where you purchase the sites yourself and you built it out yourself, and there's no footprint or nowhere for somebody else to go and click the order button to buy links from it. We think that they're still aggressively going after paid link networks that are public, and we believe that some of these networks were busted in the last update, and that's where a lot of people are seeing drops from like position number 2 to position number 12 or position number 22. Or something like that. These 1-page or 2-page drops, a lot of those I'm seeing, I believe anyway, because you know we don't have obviously complete data on any of this stuff, but this is what we're seeing, is that if you're seeing those incremental drops, that's probably because a couple of your networks may have gotten devalued. So you always have to keep that in the back of your mind.
And you know,
so that's the problem with what?
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
That's the problem, like we were saying on the first slide, with a lot of people going into these forums and they're saying, oh, Penguin 2.1 was about this. And the problem is that it wasn't just, it might have been about that, but it wasn't just about that. They're starting to lump a bunch of different penalties together, and it's confusing the hell out of people. And so you always have to keep in mind which one of these was I hit by, and maybe I was hit by more than one too. You know, so that's,
and it's also possible that they relate in weird ways. For example, you know, was your network busted because it has low quality tier 1 article content?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of different things that they're working with at the same time. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I was supposed to say, but I think that's pretty good for this slide so far.
All right. Well, let's go on. So we have one person in there.
Yeah, Brent says more coffee for Bobby. I will do that. Keep going.
Well, so I was gonna say, you know, we do have some people in the questions that are talking about things that they have that have tanked. I mean, if you want, we didn't want to post anyone's anything into this webinar without getting permission. But if anyone wants to give us permission to look at a specific domain, we are willing to do that on the webinar.
That's the thing. So we don't have specific slides about a lot of that stuff, but what we can do is if a couple of you guys want to toss them out later on, then we'll take a look at it.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and like drop that into the questions, and we'll keep it for the end.
Yeah. All right. So let's keep moving on through the slides, so I don't fall asleep or anything crazy. Let's see. Penguin 2.1 immunity. All right. So this is the fun stuff. So we talked a lot about the issues, about the problems that we're seeing, and those 4 really seem to be the checklist of what everybody, it's in common with almost everybody. Now we're going to talk about Roger, or actually we'll bring Roger on in 1 second once I kind of talk about this. And how we think the best strategy is going forward for local sites, and then you can probably adapt this depending on what type of site you have to try and get your rankings for, you know, whatever keyword you're going after. The tough thing with some of these is that everybody, like all of our customers, have totally diverse types of sites. So there's a big difference between ranking an e-commerce store versus ranking an affiliate site versus ranking a local site versus ranking a semi-authority site or something like that, right? So the strategies aren't always the same, but we know a lot of local people that got hit. And why is that? Obviously because they have the lowest authority among up the chain, right? Sorry, I've been like talking forever. So the issue is with the local sites, they had such low authority that they're very susceptible once they ratcheted up this threshold, right? And so we see a lot of people with like 25 clients that got hit because they were using a similar system for all of them. And we're going to talk about how Roger is managing a mass amount of clients and how none of his clients really got hit at all. So let's go through this.
Here, we're gonna go ahead and bring Roger on. We'll go through it since we made the slides, and then because we just stole all this from Roger. Hey, Roger, what's going on?
What's going on, guys?
Hey, Roger. How you doing? And we named Roger's system the Clevelander system because Roger is from Cleveland. I know you might have thought that there was a very advanced reason for why we made up this nickname, but that was the best that we could come up with. It's kind of sad.
We thought
Kevin
of something else, but then someone told me it was offensive.
Yes, we actually had a very offensive name for it initially, and we've really brought it back, dialed it into to something that is practically meaningless, unfortunately. But it's fine. All right, so Roger, welcome to the chat.
Thank you for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, we're just gonna go through this, and then we'll have you jump in with some. Just jump in at any point. How's that sound? You know, we want to just kind of stress that this is not the only way to get around Penguin 2.1. It's also not. We're calling it Penguin 2.1 immunity. That's kind of the marketing term. You know, the fact of the matter is,
the fact is, it's not immunity because. Hell, we all got a little bit surprised. Every single time Google rolls out an update, we get surprised by something or other. But it's about as good as we can think of right now. We should also introduce Roger a little bit.
Yeah, the question is, we just get a lot of people being like, okay, so I get all this stuff. Will you just tell me what to do? Like, don't tell me the why behind it. Just tell me what to do. And so we want to try to go ahead and just answer the question of what do you do? For people who don't care about the why so much, here is a system that we know is working right now, and we'll go from that.
Yeah, so Roger is the man. We've known Roger for about a little over 2 years now, I guess. He's one of the smartest SEOs that we know. He's in our SEO mastermind. And the other day, he sent us an email after we sent out our initial email saying, hey, guys, I didn't get hit practically at all. And I'm going to show you exactly why I think certain local people were slapped and what I've been doing this entire time because I was trying to stay a little bit more ahead of the curve and I was spending a little bit more money than your average guy was spending, but now I'm sitting pretty because I've got a much more defensible position in Google's eyes. And Roger's just a genius in general. He's got tons of employees. He's made a ton of money over his lifetime, and I trust this man. So let's bring on Roger to talk about your strategy a little bit.
I mean, the whole point here, just before we go into it, is there's nothing magical about this system. All this system does is guarantee that you're not going to hit these risk factors. It's just a system designed to, if you implement the system, you will not be mass linking to a low authority site. You're not going to have low quality content. You're not going to have over optimization because the system is spelled out to prevent those things. If that makes sense.
Exactly. All right. So let's let Roger talk since we've been just talking. Oh, and here's a picture of the Clevelander Hotel.
All right. Well, here.
Isn't that in Miami?
It is. That's in South Beach. It's a good place. It's a good place to drink at. Anyway, sorry, we were up really late at night when we made these slides, and we just needed some way to make it funny.
Yeah, well, your guys' late at night is like 6 a.m. For the rest of us, it's like 11 p.m. So it's two different worlds.
We've been trying to dial it in a little bit recently, but yeah, it's kind of like that. All right. So Roger, do you just want to talk about basically what you've been doing a little bit? Because I mean, I can
Here,
summarize this slide, but I figure you might as well just do it since it's
I
yours.
think it might be better for us to read through it and then have Roger just talk about the rationale and stuff like that. Does that sound okay?
Hey, whatever works for y'all.
Either way.
There's
All
only
right,
two
go for
there's
it.
only two slides here, but the basic idea is this: like, look, Link Emperor is awesome. We're obviously not going to throw it away because it still works really really well. Building mass links still works. It works for us. It works for a lot of people. The central idea that we have to kind of uphold is that we should really only be building mass links to high authority sites. Um, and as we mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, I just want to like kind of clear this up. We have been preaching this since September of last year that you've got to be doing tiers. Now, I will admit that perhaps we fucked up by not emphasizing this enough. We made the buffer tier slider default to 75%, and it should probably have defaulted to much higher. And at the end of the day, this is a pendulum swing that we had anticipated. Maybe we didn't anticipate the speed of it properly. But the fact of the matter is the people that have been kind of listening to us talk about this high authority, high authority, high authority, and actually did it have made out well in the last year. And so we're now kind of changing it from like here's a recommendation or here's one way you can use Link Emperor to like this is the way you need to use Link Emperor, if that makes sense.
Yep, that was good. Makes sense.
So the first thing we're now recommending is you want to use campaign level allocations in Link Emperor because we're going to want to be setting up our link building differently depending on whether the site is high authority or low authority. Because you're going to have both in your Link Emperor account, and you've got to treat them differently. That's how you do it, right, Roger?
Yeah, we have 3 different settings that we use.
All right, cool. So this is my paraphrasing of Roger's system, so we'll go through it, and then we'll have him kind of update what he does that's different, and then it'll actually be nice. You'll get to hear 2 points of view. And if you want to see exactly how the sliders are set, maybe we can even go look at those if you don't mind sharing that. I could take a screenshot of them or something. So I guess Roger's basic first step is to create social and or Web 2.0 quote-unquote parasite type sites on authority sites. So this is going to be your tier 1. I don't want to go into too much detail on how to do this because we did a whole webinar about it last year, which I've linked here. It's linkemperor.com/parasites. So if you haven't seen that, you really need to go watch it. We did this last year. In this webinar last year, we were basically like, you should really do this. And now we're saying you have to do it. So basically, you want to create 15 to 25 of those per campaign. Obviously, this is like budget based. So if you're trying to rank a site and you've got very low budget, you might have to settle for 5 or 3. But Roger's doing 15 and he's bumping them up to 25 now, right?
Yeah, on local clients.
Right. And even more on national clients, right?
Yeah, national clients are in the 30 to 35 range.
Gotcha. So I added this phrase, if within budget, you will want original content for these sites. At the end of the day, the whole idea behind the Clevelander system is that it's supposed to be defensive. So the thinking is we don't 100% know that the tier 1 content matters, but if you are the kind of person who needs to be defensive, why would you not go ahead and do it if you have budget? If you don't have budget, use the spun content that we provide because it's better than not having the buffer at all, right? So
Or if you're going, well, the other side of that is if you're going for throwaway sites. Like we have a lot of guys that are affiliates and they're trying to rank for product launches or something like that, and they're trying to rank for something where they need to get up really fast, like within 2 weeks, and they might want to just and maybe they don't have nearly as high of a budget for it because maybe they're just throwing a couple press releases out there and kind of seeing how let the chips fall where they may or whatever. You definitely, if you're doing that kind of a strategy, you're not going to want to spend a bunch of money on original content. This is like a little more defensive thing. But the other side is it's not only defensive. I've actually read a lot of people saying that their theory is that if you have a site that's getting traffic or a site that is really like high content that people like to visit, that the link coming from that is obviously going to be valued a lot higher than an equal authority page that doesn't have traffic coming to it / doesn't have people, or has people bouncing off it real fast and stuff like that. So I actually do think that that makes a lot of sense. And so if you can create a page that is able to rank on its own, which is a third reason because you can take up much more spots in the SERPs, then you're going to have a higher quality link. That's kind of my theory.
Yeah,
and
keep going. Bobby hit on something that he kind of glanced over, but I think is big to mention, which is that there are many different Link Emperor customers that use Link Emperor for many, many different types of sites. And we touched on this in the last webinar. But, when you go on forums, you see lots of people saying Link Emperor is bad because of X. But they're not telling you exactly what they are, what they're doing, what their site is, what their budget is, and what their goals are. The whole idea with Link Emperor is we want it to be set up so that it can support you no matter what you're trying to do. And I don't want to make a value judgment on whether you're trying to build a lasting property versus a churn and burn property. Both are strategies that make awesome amounts of money. Like, we know people that are making big money with both strategies.
Exactly.
What I
mean? Because specifically you're looking at this penguin penalty is coming down maybe once every 6 months or so, right? So if you know that if this penalty just came down last week, if you know that you have a launch coming in 2 months and that you're not going to need those sites 6 months from now, screw the buffer sites, and just go and rank these things as fast as possible. Because yeah, they might get hit 6 months down the road, but at that point you don't care. So it really depends on what your time frame is, what you're looking at.
All right, cool. I just wanted to go there. We're getting comments in the questions that we're going too slow, but I think this stuff's important to talk about. All right, cool. Yeah. So moving on. So we currently consider it safe to run Link Emperor mass link building to sites like basically to all these authority sites: Facebook, YouTube, Yelp, Amazon, whatever. Now we're seeing there is inevitably going to be someone who posts in the comments right now that says, yeah, it's safe today, but it might not be safe tomorrow. All we can go on is what we see and what's working. And all I can say is we have not seen a single instance of a penalty where Link Emperor type link building has hurt an authority site. It's not like we've seen it a few times. We've literally seen it 0 times. Like, there's anyone who's giving examples of Link Emperor mass link building being a problem is link building to a non-authority site.
Well, the weird thing too is that, like, I've had authority sites go away for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then a lot of the time what happens is they pop right back up after a while. So, like, you have to a lot of the time look at the volatility of Google in general too here and track these things over the course of 6 months to a year, because a ton of our parasites are still up there, but they may disappear for a while, or they may drop to page 2 because Google's just constantly split testing stuff. But overall, we haven't seen like a definitive, like 100 spot drop kind of thing hitting our parasites in this update at all.
All right. So the important thing with this system is I put these into a separate campaign in Link Emperor. I call it niche social / parasites. So it might be called like Houston Dentist social / parasites. Is that kind of how you do it, Roger? You put those into their own campaign?
We do it a little bit more detailed. We break up each of the 3, like when we're using social parasites, we do about a 50-50 tier 1, tier 2 in Link Emperor. And as we get into like the Web 2.0, we get a little heavier on tier 2. And then when we do the microsites or the buffer actual blogs, we'll go like 85-15 tier 1 to tier 2. So we're setting up 3 different types of campaigns.
Okay, so he's splitting them up even more. Does that kind of make sense to everybody what he's doing? The idea for putting these into different campaigns is that you have different risk levels for mass link building to each type of thing. So if it's super high authority...
Those are 3 different authority levels that he broke down, right, Roger?
Yes, they are. That's exactly why.
Yeah, because your own link networks that you've got a network of PR4s or whatever, and you obviously need to go like 85% to those because of that threshold. But then if you're going to a social site that's got a PR9 almost definitely, you can go very, very low, like 50-50 or whatever you want to do, or lower maybe. All right. Sorry. Keep going.
Someone asked Roger to repeat that. The exact numbers are going to depend on exactly what you're doing, but the point is, if you have lower authority parasites, they need to get more buffers. We're gonna. Do you want to actually show this in Link Emperor right now? Let's go to one more slide. Go through the rest of the slides, then we'll pull that up.
Sure.
All right. So here's the way that I do this. If you have lower authority sites that you have to rank or that you want to rank, such as client sites, etc., we do not want to run any direct linking to them at all. So what I do is I create a separate campaign called, Houston Dentist Money Site. I go to the link building settings in Link Emperor, and I set it to build 100% via buffer sites and none to direct to target, which, by the way, is a new Link Emperor feature that we'll talk about later. And then I go to the tier targets tab and I add all my social/parasite sites as tier targets to that. That way, Link Emperor will still rank track my money site. I still get rank tracking on my money site, and it's never going to build any links to it. And all the links built to it are going to go through the tier 1 properties. An alternate idea that some people do is you could just pause that campaign and keep it paused forever. So that way you're just getting rank tracking on your money site, and all the link building is coming through the other campaign that we just built. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, we'll be able to show it easier with the demo later.
So that's basically my overview of the system. So, Roger, what do you want to add to that?
Well, I think this last thing is that like we set up massive amounts of tier 1 buffers. We have 3 categories. We have social, which everybody knows what social is. It takes you just a few minutes to set up your Facebook, your Twitter, your LinkedIn. And we've actually run some tests lately where we can create brand new social profiles, have 0 engagement, 0 likes, 0 followers, set Link Emperor to them. Not only do we get the social profiles to rank for the brand, but the PR pass-through on those small individual naked links that are in there are giving us a good safety net to everything else that we do after that. So that's step 1. That's why we can drive massive amounts of Link Emperor links at those. The second is the Web 2.0 buffers. WordPress.com, Tumblr, Blogger, these are all huge authority sites. And I think the biggest problem people have with Web 2.0, again, there's nothing that hard about what we do. Maybe it's a little labor intensive, but other than that, it's really easy. Is if you're going to set up like a WordPress.com Web 2.0 buffer, the biggest mistake that local marketers make is that they think that every article that they put out needs to have a link in it. That's not natural. If you were to look at CNN or CNBC, you're going to see a lot of articles that come out that have no links in them. So you have to be considerate of that. And every once in a while, just throw up a general article and put no links in it. The other thing that people do wrong with Web 2.0s is they build out a set of Web 2.0 buffers for a specific site. How natural is it that every single link on a Tumblr page is going to the exact same website? That makes absolutely no sense. So if you're a local marketer and say you do a lot of pool cleaning companies, why not have a Web 2.0 system that's working for 5 different websites? It's writing articles about 5 different websites. It's natural again. The other Web 2.0 buffers that we like are Squidoo and Hub Pages. They're a little bit harder because if you want to put up a Squidoo lens, you're probably going to have to put up 5 posts in there with absolutely no links before you drop your first link. But if you can get that to stick, that one link is going to be worth more than links from any other Web 2.0 that you're going to do. And we can talk about buffer blogs. They get a little bit more complicated, but I want to see what you all want to throw back in on that.
All right. Well, that sounds good. So one of the things that's coming up a lot in the comments from multiple people, and this is a really big deal, and the question is, all right, I used to have 1 campaign, and now you guys are advising me that I really need like 3 to 5 per niche in order to set these settings up properly. Are you guys going to give us a big break on the campaign prices to make this work? The answer is yes. We have something coming for that. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that you guys can use the system. We haven't exactly rolled that out yet, but it is very much on our to-do list for exactly how that's going to work. So I wish I could roll that out at the end of this talk, but we definitely have that coming.
Hey, Kevin and Bobby, let me ask you this. I know you guys have been working your ass off to put this together and doing a lot of research and talking to a lot of people. I can put together a cheat sheet for our exact system and send it over to you guys tomorrow morning. You can send it out to everybody on the webinar. If they want to do it themselves, just follow this list and be as tactical as you can, and it'll work. If not, get in contact with Bobby and Kevin, and I'm sure they can hook you up with some services to make it happen.
We
But it's
have
hard.
like 7,000 people that just asked for the cheat sheet.
I'll get that over to you guys tomorrow.
That would be absolutely awesome, Roger. I
Yeah,
think
this is
there's
kind
a
of hard to
ton interest.
verbalize, but the reality is that it is an exact checklist. If you follow it in order and you do all the things on this checklist without being a bum and skimping on the quality elements, it works. So I'll just give you guys a cheat sheet. You guys can share it with everybody on the webinar, and that should help.
So here I put up one of your rank graphs here. This is like an example of one of Roger's sites. You can see just, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to take these all with a grain of salt, but you can see the site's ranking is largely unchanged. There's some slight shifts, but those are just normal shifts.
They actually shifted up with Penguin 2.1, so.
Roger, drinks are on us next time, by the way, in exchange for all this.
You guys are always awesome with
okay,
that.
we do need to keep going though, because there's a lot more we have to cover, and there's a shit ton of questions in the questions that we have got to get to as well. So we're just gonna keep steamrolling through this Penguin related stuff because we got other stuff to talk about. But thank you very much.
Hey guys, I'm gonna hop off because it's 11:15 here, and I got to get up at 5:30 to travel for a meeting. So I'll get that cheat sheet out to you first thing tomorrow morning.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Roger. I really appreciate you staying up for it.
No problem. You guys have a good night.
All right, bye.
All right, you too. Later, Roger.
Later.
All right, and did our other panelists join the? Are they on yet?
I don't see Josh in here so far. So Josh, if you are in here, let me know. But I don't know. Hopefully.
Yeah, Josh, just drop
a
message in the questions so we can have you. All right, so let's go back to this stuff. So again, we're no longer recommending direct linking to money sites if they're low authority. Anchor text variety is still extremely, extremely important. You should have at least 15 to 25 keywords per page. So a lot of people are using 3 to 5 keywords. We really want you using a lot more. And we're going to be coming out with some improvements to the pricing table for Link Emperor to make it easier to use more keywords. Again, we haven't released that yet, but at the end of the day, we don't want you screwing up your site because you're not using enough keywords because of budget. So we're going to try to figure out how to make that better for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think one of the other slides is talking more about keyword density, right? We probably got that coming up.
I don't remember. I know we need to talk about the trees versus keywords. Do you want to go ahead and do that now, or do you want to?
Right. Well, that's what I was talking about. Do you know if we have a slide for that or not?
I don't think we do. I mean, what I was just going to do is pull up a tree real quick and kind of talk about what we're talking about.
Yeah, that would be perfect, actually.
All right. Let's go ahead.
Ray's asking. Ray just showed up a little bit late. He's asking if he can get a copy of the webinar. Yes, we're going to mail this out tomorrow. So if you guys are up late, like I know Roger was staying up late and all that, we can mail this out tomorrow. So.
All right. Yeah. How are you guys doing? I mean, are you guys we're trying to wrap this up by midnight Eastern / 9 p.m. Pacific is kind of our goal. So like another 45 minutes is kind of our plan, but we'll stay on later if we have to. All right. So I just want to show you guys have seen the research tab on Link Emperor. I'm just going to pull one of these up. Here is an example of what we're talking about when we're talking about keyword variety.
Yes, and this is something that I suspect a lot of people got hit by that they do not realize, or a lot of people just, this is tough because you think you set up a good amount of diversity in your keywords, and I think this is a really sneaky thing that probably hit some people that Google was that people may not catch on to for a while.
All right.
And it ties in a little bit with the Hummingbird update, I think.
All right, so let's look at this little tree here of employment verification. So someone might have set up a page on their site for employment verification, and they might have said, all right, I need diverse keywords, so I'm going to use these 8 keywords, and we're going to call that 8 diverse keywords. The issue is those all contain the word employment verification. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, type it in the chat box if you guys are kind of following along, because this is a little bit more detailed here. So we just want to make sure that people are kind of seeing what we're talking about.
So it's like, yes, you do have 8 keywords, but it's 8 of really the same keyword, if that makes sense.
And this is actually more diverse than I'm seeing a lot of people doing, because they do have a lot of random stuff tossed in here. I'm seeing a lot of local people that are taking, like, can we go find a local keyword? Like out of like what's that bankruptcy one?
Let me see if I can find. Let me see if I can find that. Well, here's like, you mean like this one?
Yeah, exactly. So like, let's see if we can find. Damn, this one isn't even as good as some of the ones I've seen. But like, a lot of what you'll see is somebody who's got like a chiropractor, and they're typing in Las Vegas chiropractor, chiropractor Las Vegas, Vegas chiropractor, chiropractor Vegas. You know, like they're counting that as like 4 keywords, but it's all the same keyword. You know, it's got literally all of the same words were in all 4 of those. And I've seen lists as long as like 25 different keywords that were rearranged just one after another with only, you know, 6 words, like 6 base words, but they're counting it as 25. And then you go and you look at the chart. Like if you go to Majestic, or I like using linkdensity.com. That's like the easiest way for me to see it visually laid out. If you look at those, the graphs of the different pie slices, right, of you know, you've got 2% that says Las Vegas chiropractor and another 2% that says chiropractor Las Vegas. You've got to add those together. You know, you've got to see that that's 4% of chiropractor Las Vegas. You know, Google's not that stupid. So here's what we want people to start doing to be extra careful about this stuff. Let's go back into the keyword tree and kind of take a look at different ways to vary stuff up.
Right. And I just want to reiterate again that I know that a lot of you guys have been limited in the past because of the way that we price keywords, and it costs 5 cents for extra keywords right now. We are aggressively working on figuring out how we can create primary versus secondary keywords so that we can make this easier on you without hurting you too much on the cost.
Yeah, we're definitely prioritizing making some of these tweaks so that stuff should be done within hopefully the next month or so. I mean, I don't know. I don't like saying timelines, but we're definitely a high priority on all this stuff to make it as easy as possible. All right, so what we're seeing is that people are basically doing their keyword variations all within one keyword tree. You know, and what we want people to really start doing is look at how many different trees they can mix together, because with this Hummingbird update, and I think we got some slides for Hummingbird coming up later on, but basically what they're doing is they're figuring out smarter ways to tie phrases together rather than going by words, individual keywords, and treating them all separately. So with that, it obviously makes sense that you're going to need to throw in. A lot of people have been tossing out this LSI term again. It's latent semantic indexing, and this is something that's been around for like 10 years. I mean, it's nothing new, and people who are doing smart SEO have been doing this since the very beginning with their keywords and with their categories on their websites and all this stuff. Basically, what it is if you do any search and you go to the bottom of the SERP in Google, and you see all the related keywords, and you click around within the related keywords, and you find synonyms for the same words that you were looking at. Just go by what Google is using. So go down to the related keywords for your different searches and pull up those keywords and use those too, and go a couple steps beyond. So get out of the tree of the same related keywords. Like you can, I mean, Link Emperor lays it out loud and clear in this type of stuff, because you can literally just pull from a couple different trees here and use those as synonyms. And that's the main thing. Just take a look at all your campaigns and see, like, am I including a number of different trees in my synonyms for my anchor text diversity or not? And it's a pretty simple idea, really. I mean, we don't really have to talk about it any more than that, but I think that's caught a lot of people, and I think a lot of people are not really noticing it because it's not as obvious, and a lot of people just don't do it in the link analysis. All right. So what's next?
All right, what is next? Let's go back.
Is that clear? I mean, just like type it in the chat room. I assume I probably beat it like a dead horse at this point because I just said it
All
like
right.
10 different ways.
Yeah, we're apologize for beating these things like a dead horse. It's just that, like, you know, we phrased a lot of these things in the past as suggestions, and now we're just trying to be like 100% clear here that like you got to do these things or else.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Cool.
All right. Keep going, Kevin.
All right. So to all the people who keep hammering the chat about recovery steps, let's talk about recovery steps.
All right. And this is what I was hoping Josh would be around for a little bit because I know that he's got a little experience with this, and so do a number of other people. But we've got the majority of the information down here, and so we'll just kind of go over it.
Do you want to mail
go into it,
out
Kevin?
that video from Josh later, or?
I would totally be down to do that. Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good video.
Here, I will put that into the chat. Just give me 1 second. I'll get that in the chat.
Yeah. Basically, Josh is a good guy. He used to make instructional videos for SE Nuke, and now he's making instructional videos for our friend Dory's company, SEO Nitro. And I've met him at Dory's conference about, I don't know, 3 weeks ago or so. And he's just a real sharp guy, and he's got some really good ideas about how Google's kind of making slight changes. And he came out with a video about 2 days ago, and I thought he was going to show up to talk to you guys in person, but we can probably just mail out the video. It's about a half hour long, and I mean, he talks about some pretty good stuff.
It's linkemperor.com/joshvideo.
All right, so save that link, and that should go somewhere.
All right, it's in the chat.
In the next. All right, sweet. All right. So you want to go into the recovery steps? You want to do this one, Kevin, or me?
I'll do it. I mean, here's the thing with recovery steps. So the first thing we gotta first mention is that this penalty came out for a lot of us 9 days ago or something like that. So a lot of this is theory and hearsay and suggestions, but it's based on wisdom that has been built up over many years. So, you know, we can't say conclusively that this is the best plan or that's the best plan, but we can talk about based on kind of what's happened in the past, why we would recommend this versus that, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and a lot of this is like a worst case scenario thing. It's like your site really got bombed and you have almost nothing to lose at this point. There's a couple different options that you have, but that we're going to go through. But for the most part, it's going to be a lot of stuff like we'll just give you the worst of the worst possible scenario and the best that you can do.
Yeah, and we're doing this personally on some of our other sites too. Like we had a site that, you know, in my other business that was killing it, and even though we've been using the buffer tiers and stuff lately, you know, back in 2009 and 2010 and 2000 maybe early 11, we were blasting it with all kinds of XRumor and Scrapebox and Six Submitter and, you know, God knows what before we had Link Emperor. So, you know, the fact that it got banned now is not even really that surprising. You know, so we're going through and doing these recovery steps ourselves too, and we're going to be able to at least report back on how they're working.
Yeah, like one of our sites was something that we hadn't even literally built links to in over a year. Nothing had changed, but I think it finally got hit by some of the outstanding links from a few years ago. So, I mean, you always have to think too, like, was I hit by my strategy today, or was I or my client hit by something that happened before? So that's always, you know, a pain in the ass to factor in too.
Right. Okay, so the first thing we always talk about, if you've been on these before with us, is you have to make a determination of whether it's a penalty versus a link devaluation. So a lot of these Penguin things are penalties, but a lot of them are just devaluations. So if you've only lost a few spots, it likely means that the links that you were getting credit for are now devalued. So, for example, this is the case of like where you've had blog networks where the links are no longer being treated the same. You know, similar like that. If you're dropping 50 spots or more on your bigger keywords, you got a penalty. And I can show you. Let me see if I can pull this up on Link Emperor. I'll show you what a penalty looks like. Like a penalty looks like you log into that rankings tab and it's just like red arrows all over the place. Because that's literally what it looked like for one of our sites. Here, you want to keep talking while I try to find that, Bobby?
Yeah, sure. You're just gonna have to leave the slide up.
Okay.
So yeah, like Kevin just said, the devaluate, it's very important. I mean, and a lot of people got hit with both. So a couple of their pages got hit with a penalty, whereas in general, the majority of their keywords maybe got hit with a devaluation. And so you see that with a lot of people where they're doing mostly like link network type stuff, and maybe like one of their link networks got hit, and so across the board their sites dropped by somewhere around 10 spots or so, and that's because there's just less links that are counting for those pages. Now the penalty, something important to note, is that the penalty is on a page level, and I think we have more slides about that coming up, don't we, Kevin?
We do,
the,
yes.
the page level flag. Okay, so don't worry. All right, we'll talk about that there. But that's something to keep in mind for sure, and we'll talk about that for sure in more detail in a second. Um, but so if you've got a penalty, what we're going to try and do is perform both of these things simultaneously. We're going to launch some new assets using the Clevelander system, because obviously you need to. Here's the thing about these penalties is that it's real sketchy. Like there's no guarantee that Google is going to, even if you disavow all the links, there's no guarantee that Google is going to go and say, oh, no big deal, we'll honor your reconsideration request, because Google just sucks, and everybody I think agrees with that, right? Whatever. So the point is, you have to start making positive steps towards doing something else. You've got to build up some other assets in the meantime, and then if you can get the site back, then that's great. Hopefully you can, but either way, don't sit around holding your breath for 6 months until the next Penguin update, because if you do that, the problem is you're working off no information, right, for like 6 months or so around, and it's always different. It's not exactly 6 months, but you don't want to sit around doing all this stuff for 6 months or so, and then the next update comes around and it didn't work, and now you're totally screwed and you wasted a bunch of money and whatever. So you got to start ranking some new sites for sure. Let's take a look at this ranking graph
This
now.
is literally one of my sites. I mean, this is what a penalty looks like, right? So you're hovering around like number 2 or something for a while, and then it's just all of a sudden like gone. It's like, and it's gone.
Yep, it's pretty
now,
loud and clear.
Yeah, I mean, like a devaluation kind of just looks like a drop. So you shouldn't just look at a single keyword, but look at the overwhelming, just look at all your keywords, and you should be able to make a pretty obvious call on that.
Yeah, kind of like how that John Chow site dropped to the second page. And I doubt that happened in Penguin 2.1. It probably happened a while ago. I don't know the timing on that, but that's what it would look like. You'd be on like the second page or third page or whatever.
Right.
All right, let's keep moving on. You want to keep
talk
going,
about
Kevin?
Talk about that bottom one, or go to the next one?
No, we didn't do the
Okay.
bottom one yet.
Let's keep going.
Oh, here's the other thing. This is real important. Make sure you're rechecking your rankings later on. Like if you checked your rankings the same day that the penalty came out and you haven't checked some of them since, go back and check them again, because I saw a number of reports of people who recovered at least a decent amount of rankings, like 60% or so, after like 3 days to a week. So they're always shuffling stuff around after a major update like this, and so you got to go. Don't just make sure you go and recheck. All right, next. You want to take over from here for a second?
Sure. All right. So we talked about this before. It is widely believed this is a page level penalty, not a domain level penalty. So you got to ask yourself some specific questions that are related to your site. If you have assets on a domain that is, the domain itself is doing well in some keywords, but it's clear that some have died, I would consider building replacement assets on the same domain. If your entire domain seems to be penalized, I always suggest erring on the side of doing more, because it's better to do more than to do less and discover that it didn't work. That's my personal opinion. It obviously depends on budget and what your clients are like and kind of the way you want to run your business. But I would personally say that if you think you have an entire domain that's penalized, what I would attempt to do is simultaneously try to recover that domain while also launching a new domain. Like, there's no reason to delay launching a new domain, because that might be your best option.
Yeah, so one thing to keep in mind here that a lot of people see is they think they got hit by like a site-wide penalty, but for as far as I have seen, Penguin is a page level penalty across the board. And what you probably did was you did the same exact link building strategy to every page on your site, and every page got hit. I mean, it makes perfect sense, right? I mean, that's you're not going to be generally changing up your link building strategy on different pages within a site unless you're weird. So just always keep that in mind. is that you can get rid of certain pages that were penalized and just go and put up a new page. And yes, you're going to have to start your link building from scratch, but that can work. Now, another thing that people have done that I've seen a lot of people talking about here, it's a little bit of a risky, advanced, might work, might not.
We have a separate slide for the 301.
We got a separate slide?
Yeah,
Okay.
Let's hold off on that.
All right, we'll go to that next.
All right. The other quick thing that we realized, though, is that, this is kind of something we've actually never really talked about before, and honestly have never really thought about, but this is kind of a big thing we realized recently, and that's kind of the way that page level penalties come into play when you have a homepage that ranks for stuff. Because it's easy to launch new pages. Like if you have a page that tanks, you can always launch a new page on your site. Like that's trivial, right? It is not easy to relaunch your homepage in most cases. So one of the things that we are considering doing a lot more of internally, and we are now going to make as a suggestion, not a requirement, but a suggestion, is we're trying to do a lot more of our link building to inside pages. Because, what we've realized is for the future, we can always move an inside page, but we can't always move a home page. So that's just an important realization we've come to. So we're just going to be focusing on inside pages a lot more.
Well, for sure. One thing, we've always recommended that you spread your link building around a lot. Deep linking is just a good general SEO strategy. All penalties aside, if you're building most of your links, or even more than like 20% or 10% of your links, I would go lower than 10%. If you're building more than that of your links to your home page, then you've got to spread it around to your internal pages, because you're just going to see better rankings overall. That's just kind of how Google works. They like seeing deep links, and it benefits the entire domain. So we've always said that. Not everybody follows it, but we've always said that. But the other thing is that now that we're thinking about this page level penalty, like Kevin said, it's even more risky to be building a ton of links to your home page. So we're going to be even dialing that back further. All right. Next slide.
So real quick, we had one person in the comments, Matthew, say that he thinks he might have had the problem with the link diversity, but it wasn't really diversity because it was kind of all in the same tree. But he also said that he checked again today and saw that his page bounced back up 30 spots. So it is very clear that the dance is still happening, and everyone should be still checking in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I still wouldn't be surprised if Google rolls some of this stuff back, because, like, if you look at that make money online keyword, I just don't think that's a very useful results page, because somebody who really wants to learn that kind of stuff is not going to get anything out of a news article. But anyway, that's just me. That's all just possibility. All right, so now we'll talk about recovery using the disavow tool.
All right, so hold on real quick, though. So we had one person
Okay.
in the comments, Daniel, say that he had a homepage ranking, and his homepage is gone from the results now, but it's replaced with an inner page in rank number 50-something. So to me, that would suggest that the page level penalty is happening to the homepage, and you've got another target already ready for you to start promoting for that keyword. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course.
All right. Anyway, back to the disavow tool. I'll let you get back to going here.
Sure. All right, so recovery using the disavow tool. Now, this sucks. I'm just going to say straight out, the disavow tool is a shit last resort. Pardon my French. I mean, it's nothing that you can rely on for sure. What people have said in the past that I've seen who have used the disavow tool is that even if they successfully disavowed all of their links and then got the successful reconsideration request and went through all of that over the course of like 6 months or so, I've still never seen anybody say that they fully recovered the rankings that they had before. They may have reached a certain percentage of success, and it wasn't a waste, but it's just a tough route to go. But if you think that your site is really screwed, this is probably your best effort for that particular property, right? You say your homepage is really screwed, and this is the best you got, then you can definitely try the disavow tool. The other shitty thing about the disavow tool is that we really believe that it's Google's way of people outing their fellow SEOs or whatever by just, it's kind of like Google's snitch tool, where you upload a bunch of the links that you personally think were bad, or that you're basically admitting guilt to, and then Google kind of goes, okay, let's add those to our list of flagged domains or whatever. But I mean, we're all selfish people, so you gotta do what you gotta do, right? So anyway, it's largely uncharted territory, especially now. This is Penguin 2.1. There's nothing to say that they're going to treat the disavow tool the way they did for Penguin 1 type stuff. So always remember that too. But if your site is confirmed to have a penalty, why not try it, particularly if it's on the home page. If it's a page like inner pages stuff, I would definitely try the strategy of getting rid of your old pages and creating new URLs rather than doing this.
Yeah,
but
either that or the other strategy we're about to talk about.
Yeah, and we are going to talk about one more homepage strategy, which is totally theoretical, but we just kind of thought of it today, and we think people might want to try it out before they go do the disavow thing. Because literally the disavow is like a 6-month penalty box, like just sucks. So you got nothing to lose, right? Whatever, this is the last resort. Which links do you disavow? Kevin suggests disavowing all links from non-authority pages, then start over with the Clevelander system. What I would recommend actually first is I would go to the Webmaster Tools and see what links they're listing in there, and I would disavow all of those. Because the thing is, you don't know really how many links. Like, here's the problem with using stuff like Majestic and Ahrefs or Ahrefs or these different link diagnostic tools. The SEO Moz tool too.
Yeah, or the link research tools one.
Right, the Chris Kemper thing that a lot of people have been using recently, is that you don't know how many of those links you don't know how effective those crawlers are, because Google has by far the best crawler in the world, and they definitely have a list that's like 3 times larger of all of your backlinks if you've been doing some kind of spammy bulk link building than any of those other sites have. It's just a fact of life. That's why we have indexers. And that's why, Google picks up. Google is, if you've ever looked at your crawl logs, Google shows up within an instant. And then Yahoo shows up like a week later. And then Majestic shows up like maybe at some point or something like that. But so anyway, that's why I say just go through Webmaster Tools. It's a sure thing. They're showing you what links they have. Just throw those in there. That's my opinion. But it depends. I mean, you can do either one. And if there's no harm at this point, I guess, if it's a lost cause to go and try and find other ones. But I don't think it necessarily matters that much. Next step, submit reconsideration request if you have any manual penalties showing in Webmaster Tools. So make sure at this point, if you're given, I know a lot of guys don't use Webmaster Tools. I'm not even going to say whether I, feel that that's a good idea or not. A lot of the time I do, but it's 6 in one, half dozen in the other. But if you have any manual penalties, go into your Webmaster Tools. If you or sign up for it at this point, if you don't have it already, and submit your reconsideration request from in there and put all the links that you disavowed and all that stuff. And then really what we would like to do is we'd like to create somewhat of a catalog of people who have tried this, because we've been asking around a ton and we haven't seen too many people that have a lot of data on their struggles with this disavow tool thing. So if you want, hit us up and let us know how it went, because it's been frustrating trying to get all these different opinions from people on whether or not you should disavow and all this other stuff. So hit us up.
Okay, so real quick, a couple things that have been mentioned by multiple people in the comments. Questions like, why is it that Majestic shows me more links than Google Webmaster Tools? And why is it that Google Webmaster Tools doesn't always show me that I have a penalty? Well, the answer is in both cases that Google doesn't want to give away the farm of the details of exactly how its penalties work. So, they're not going to show you every link that you need to disavow, and they're not going to show you the details of every penalty, which is one of the reasons that this sucks.
But you have a totally defensible position in that you took a look at all the links that they were showing you that they didn't like, and you just disavowed all of them. You can go in and say, I did my best. And, if they come back and they have a problem, who knows? We'll see. You can keep trying. But it's shit. I mean, honestly, we don't have a great solution for that right now, unfortunately, other than launch a new site, launch some parasites, all that stuff. So let's keep going. Let's talk about more stuff.
All right.
Now that the most depressing part of the presentation is over, let's talk about some other crazy ideas that we had today. not really that crazy. They're actually, I think they're kind of smart, and I've never heard of anybody doing them yet. So you might want to
Yeah,
try
so
this
we've
too.
got a couple things too. Another guy just told me he's going to email me some interesting stats that we're going to show in a second. James also just said that, just another anecdotal thing. He had his homepage drop off, but he had an inner page actually come in higher than the homepage. So again, that just confirms the whole page level penalty idea, and that you can launch an inner page and be successful that way.
Yeah, that is just fascinating. That's weird. I would be interested to see a little more detail on the keyword and stuff there. But okay, do you want to go on to this thing?
Yeah, let's
our
do
idea
it.
about the 301.
Yeah, so we've
go for it.
heard
Do you want to
we've
explain?
heard some people have reported success by 301 redirecting their old pages to new pages, to try to avoid
On a
the
different
penalty
domain.
on a different domain, right?
So basically, say you had like website.com, and then you also owned website.net. What people are doing is they're not doing a universal 301 redirect of every page. They're doing individual page level redirects one by one in their what's it called? Sorry.
Either in their cPanel or WordPress or however you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Now, there are some people that have said that they've had the penalty follow them. For example, Todd had just said that. But there are also people that have said they've had at least short-term success. With Todd, did it work at all for any amount of time, or did it? Oh, yeah. See, Todd says it worked for a while, and then it tanked. So, you might.
And that's what I've seen from a lot of people is that. So this is one idea: is that say you've got a client that you think you might lose them within, if you don't show them anything for 2 months or whatever, you might try this strategy and see if you can regain your rankings for like a month while you're trying to build up traffic from other sources. So it's not going to be a real solution, but it might make you back. It might save you a month's worth of time if you try it. And if you've got literally nothing to lose with this page, why not? So it's just another potential arrow in your quiver, so to speak, something to think about.
Yeah, and then so here's the craziest idea we came up with, and this is totally untested, but we really like it as an interesting way to automatically mass disavow all of your links. So if you have a site that you think is just totally fucked, and you want a reset button, you want to just totally start over for Google purposes, but without having to redo anything else like your business cards or whatever, here's our idea. You switch between using www and non-www. So if currently you're promoting the canonical URL for your site as www.yahoo.com, what we're going to do is we're going to replace all of those with 404 pages, and then we're going to create a JavaScript redirect from all of them to just the plain yahoo.com / whatever the old page URL was. So that way, any real visitors going to the site, it will still work because the JavaScript redirect will work. But Google is going to see the other site as a brand new site with no inbound links, because all those old inbound links are now pointing to a 404 page. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. And they wouldn't pass any link juice through a JavaScript redirect. And so our idea is that they most likely wouldn't pass a penalty through a JavaScript redirect either. I know that I'm sure some of you guys, this sounds like complete Greek to you if you don't, if you're not a webmaster in any way or whatever. But you could show this to like if somebody manages your website, you could show this to them and they could probably do it for you. But this is an idea. It's again we're talking about the worst of the worst here.
And we are testing.
But I think it could work. The other question too that you have to keep in mind is if you already had the 301 set up, which is proper form. You should have a 301 normally from either the www to the non or vice versa, whichever you want, so that you don't have this canonical issue of your link juice getting split. If you already had that set up, it may be already that the penalty has been spread between the two. But if you didn't have that set up, then this definitely might work, I think. So yeah, I know there's a lot of clauses and stuff, but it's an interesting idea.
The other idea is you could still go with this JavaScript redirect plus 404 formula to a brand new domain. So you could go from the .com to the .net or something like that as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true.
So
that's actually a more clean.
I think that is a better version of it, almost entirely.
Yeah, because then you
now that
don't
I think
have so
about it.
many like clauses in there, like if this then that kind of thing. Um, yeah, that's pretty clear. JavaScript redirect those pages from a .com to a .net or whatever. And if a couple people try it out, please let us know if it worked or not, because it's kind of cool.
Right.
And don't
And
go like reporting this on the forums somewhere, because then it'll definitely not work next time around.
oh yeah, this is like the only original content we have added to this webinar. Everything else was stolen from somebody. So let's try. We really do kind of want to keep this one
Well, for the
internal if
most
it
part,
actually works.
we had some things related to inferences from our customers and stuff, but yeah, in terms of just general strategy, I mean, the vast majority of this stuff is common sense that we're just putting all together and compiling.
Yeah, and we're definitely gonna try this. The biggest key is, so someone was talking about their htaccess file. It has to be a JavaScript redirect, because if it's a 301 redirect, it's gonna just eventually pass the penalty. And ideally, it should be like the most confusingly possible coded JavaScript redirect using a script that you made. Just to reduce the chance of any way of Google picking up on it.
Right, because Google can read JavaScript. So if you're gonna do it, then write some really crappy JavaScript for it.
Alternatively, the other idea is you don't have to do a redirect. You could just do a link. Like, you could take them to a page that says, this page is moved, click here.
And I just thought about something too. This would be an awesome WordPress plugin.
Yes, and we're gonna sell it.
We should try it. All right.
All right,
Anyway,
Matthew,
on to the next slide.
Hold on. So Matthew just sent me his email. Well, hold on. I'm gonna look at this and make sure it's safe to display first. We'll go to the next slide. All right. So new features / changes in Link Emperor that we have added this past week. This is kind of what you all came for. So let's talk about that real quick.
Yep.
What happened here? Oh yeah. So basically, the first one is, the biggest thing we've added now is you can now disable all link building to your money sites and only run through tier 1s. So you can now slide the buffer tier slider all the way to the right, and you can now add your tier 1s manually in the tier targets tab. So that's just a way of new flexibility for you guys to kind of do the strategy we were talking about earlier. So we also have new Link Emperor best practices. This is kind of consolidating all the stuff we talked about before. If you're using Link Emperor to build your tier 1, we are now recommending that you only use Web 2.0 property creation for the tier 1. And the reason for that is, for these, we give you the usernames and passwords to these properties. So if for whatever reason you think that they become toxic, you can remove them or change them or update them at any time.
You can also add content to them. And one other thing is that we're going to be looking into our current Web 2.0s that we're building and instituting some new requirements for our vendors, so that they're only building on particular high authority sites that we're going to take a look at individually. And we're preferably going to have them be built only on sites that where the page that you are able to create is a directory and not a subdomain, because we believe that subdomains don't carry the authority potentially the way that directories do. And that might sound completely confusing to you if you don't understand what I'm talking about, but just know that we're making a bunch of individual changes here to the software.
Right. So that one's in flight. We've got the other change in flight that we talked about rethinking the pricing on keywords and campaigns. Bobby and I are going to be working on that tomorrow, and it's going to be a little bit complicated, because the thing is, we in addition to the 4 plans that we sell, we also have like every plan that we've ever sold in the past that we have to figure out how to do it on, because there's still a lot of people on plans that we sold in like 2011 and stuff.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. You guys don't have to worry about that.
Okay, so the other thing, seriously consider providing your own articles for your tier 1 Web 2.0s. Again, that really is dependent on budget. So Tim asks, how do you make it only use Web 2.0s? The point is, you're going to take the sliders and you're just going to slide the rest of them down.
Why don't you go and show them right now, just so that everybody knows what we're talking about?
Yeah, let me actually do that real quick. Let me find an example of where I can do that without showing anything that I shouldn't show. Okay, so we're going to do it kind of like this. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to set it up so that we're mostly going to the buffer tier, and we're literally going to turn off. I was just playing with these, so don't read any meaning into these right now. We're literally going to turn off everything on the first tier except for the Web 2.0s. And then we're going to continue to hit the buffer tier.
Do you need to move the
with something
slider
like
a little
that.
bit, the main slider a little to the left, I think, because it's showing 0 links.
Well, it's showing 0 links because this is a demo site. Sorry. So
Gotcha.
ignore these zeros because I'm not on a real customer right now. But these will show you your actual numbers. Does that kind of make sense to everybody?
Yeah, type into the chat. Make sure that kind of makes sense a little bit.
All right, and Lucas is pointing out.
Or if it doesn't, then point that out too.
Lucas is pointing out 8 minutes left. So Eric has said in the chat that he confirms with James that he's also seeing the phenomenon of inner pages replacing the homepage. So it's just more suggestion of a page level penalty where he had inner pages that somehow made it past it. No, Lucas, I didn't think you sounded mean. That's cool.
Okay.
All right, so that all kind of makes sense to everybody.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were pretty positive on understanding what was going on there.
Here's a 1 bullet slide about Hummingbird, because we figured we needed to throw in something about Hummingbird.
Oh yeah. By the way, you keep your mouth keeps moving like away and
towards the
microphone, I think.
Sorry.
That's okay. Most of the time you're fine. It's just
I'm using this crap microphone today because I broke the other one.
That's all good. Oh yeah, so this is just one thing that we just thought we would throw in here because hey, we're doing an update and this is one of the newest things to come out. The only main update with Hummingbird, really, because like as we said, it's just a rewrite of the algorithm and it didn't really affect that many people. It's by itself. Is that now you want to make sure for sure that you're tagging your site using micro formats, otherwise known as microdata. And so all you have to do is go to schema.org, and basically what you're doing here is the whole Hummingbird update is, I forget exactly how they put it. It's a things not strings update. So what it means is whereas Google forever has been going based on strings of text, now they're moving towards a different model, and it's all in the background, based around things, so different pages, different page types. So what they want you to do is go in, and this is all in Webmaster Tools too. So if you have Webmaster Tools on one of your sites, go and take a look at it, and they give you details on exactly how to set it up in there or wherever. But it's also in the actual HTML of your site. But so you're essentially tagging your page, or this is an information page, this is whatever. And so that's probably going to give you a decent boost in the rankings if you're not doing that already. So just keep that in mind. It's a good tip.
All right. So this is the page that I think is like kind of the most important takeaway from this. I want to really encourage everybody to not be discouraged here. At the end,
it's a big opportunity, is what it is. And I mean, I don't know. That's always like the classic, like, hey, keep your head up kind of thing. But honestly, it really is a huge opportunity right now. If you look at some of these most major keywords and the shakeups that we've seen and the authority sites that are dominating right now, there's a lot of places where you can move in and actually make a killing, I think. I mean, no, we haven't had too much time for people to come back with like success stories yet because it's only been around for a week. But there's a ton of ways to manipulate these rankings right now. And I'm pretty excited actually about using parasites going forward. And with a little mix of original content and some other stuff, I think we've got a better strategy than ever, honestly, looking at what we've figured out so far. So, I mean, one of these things, I mean, honestly, SEO is still the best ROI that we've seen of any traffic strategy. I mean, yes, occasionally you get your head kind of knocked in, and it happens to a couple sites, but I mean, you just got to go and create a new site, and you can be ranking it within a couple months most of the time. I mean, the SERPs are changing at a faster rate than ever before. There's tons of easy ways to get right back on top of things and be ranking on the first page of results. And if you figure out a way to use Amazon, use YouTube and all that stuff, I mean, you can literally be ranking those pages within a week, and you can see a ton of different traffic. So don't just get all pissed off like everybody always gets pissed off at, at every update. Take a look at the SERPs that you're trying to rank for, and take a fresh look at what is ranking, what's missing in terms of the modalities, right? We didn't talk about this at all, really, but one thing that I always like to say, take a look at the keywords, and Google likes to rank different things with different modalities. And what's a modality? It's like the difference between like visual learners versus auditory learners versus readers, that kind of stuff. Google is very aware of the fact that different people learn information in different ways. And so that's a really easy way to take advantage of stuff. Like if you go and look at a SERP like that Make Money Online SERP, and you see all 10 of those were just regular news site web pages, I definitely would not be surprised if you could go in there and rank a YouTube video or something for that. I mean, I don't know, you can never say for sure, but it's the kind of thing where there's going to be a lot of advantages to people who check out different modalities. So like SoundCloud is crushing it right now. If you can upload a podcast to different SERPs, and as always, YouTube and press releases are still doing very well and all that stuff. Let's see. People with automation will always have an advantage over people without automation. It really is true. I mean, a lot of people go in and say like, oh, well, you can't use software to rank, and that's obviously ridiculous. So I don't know. Sometimes it's just like, stay off the forums. I mean, Google's got an algorithm, and we're constantly screwing around with it, and software is always going to win. It's just that sometimes you got to make a couple quick tweaks. Don't fall into the trap of somehow thinking that having access to automation puts you at a disadvantage. That's just kind of stupid.
Yeah, I mean, how does that make any sense? Like, anyone who says that is just patently ridiculous, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, did I use the airplane analogy on this one, or did I do that on the last webinar? Because now it's kind of running together.
I think you did it on the last one. I don't think you did it on this one.
At the end of the day, you got to think of Link Emperor as an airplane, right? Like, sometimes airplanes crash, but you don't say like, oh, I guess we should start driving our car every time we want to go from New York to LA. Like, no, you don't do that. You like find the problem and you fix it. And now you have a better airplane, and that's what we're trying to do. And I think that's a really important mindset.
Yeah, I think especially like with the keyword diversity and stuff. Like, I mean, it's just tough because you never know how many keywords you should be using and things like that. And sometimes you make a mistake. But the fact is, like, we can do as much as we can with the software, but you always have to use your head too and look at particularly what keyword am I ranking for, and what are the types of things that Google might switch up in the future. And just try to be as safe as possible. Let's go on to the next slide. What else we got?
All right. Well, we've got additional notes here, which we have stuff to add to now. This is taking a long time. Thank you for bearing with us, guys. We just wanted to get all this information to you so you could at least know where we're coming from.
Yeah, all right. So a good list of suggestions that Terry Kyle wrote. He's got an awesome forum at trafficplanet.com. We'll redirect you to his post, which we thought was pretty cool. It's linkemperor.com/TerryPenguin, and that'll go over to his site. And I thought he did a real nice job of basically breaking it down and talking about what to do in different scenarios if you got hit. Includes also a great rundown of the parasite strategy and his specific suggested parasites, so I definitely recommend checking that out because he's got some good info. Also, again, seriously consider watching our parasite webinar from last year if you haven't already. It's more relevant than ever, and pretty much none of the information from that has changed at all. And we don't think it's really going to be changing all that much because Google just continues to move more and more towards these authority sites. So take a look at that stuff and really think about how you can rework your business in a little bit to take advantage and dominate through the use of other people's authority sites.
Yeah, and I would just jump in with one other thing, which is that, the one thing that I've kind of realized is someone asked a big question, like Sam asked a question that I'm going to go ahead and paraphrase, but basically his question is, all right, I've got this local client, and how do I explain to him that, he had all these rankings and now he has kind of gotten tanked. How do I kind of explain to him what's going on? And the answer is just that, like, sometimes you may, as far as setting expectations with your clients, that's kind of something I don't really know a whole lot about. But I can say this is that a lot of the success that's going to be had, I think, for SEOs in this coming year is going to be from thinking outside the box and figuring out, it used to just be I plug in my client's site and I try to rank it, and now it's going to have to evolve a little bit into figuring out like how can we leverage these authority sites that are providing maybe even way more traffic. Like you've got a plastic surgeon in Orange County, maybe you could actually rank for terms like rhinoplasty with an article on Forbes.com. You know what I mean? And like that's going to bring you exponentially more traffic than you've ever had.
For sure. And the other thing is, like, especially in local, the fact is, 3 years ago, most local people didn't have very good Google representation. And now that more and more of you local guys have been knocking on people's doors relentlessly, hammering them over the head saying, you need to be on Google, your rankings suck, blah, blah, blah. Well, at this point, a whole lot more local guys are on there, so the competition is going up. I mean, as the internet gets more and more accepted into mainstream society, it's going to be more expensive to rank a page even in a local result, and you have to convince your clients of the fact that it may take a little more money in order to get them there than it did 2 years ago. And so, I mean, that's a shitty conversation to have. But if you can change around their expectations a little bit and get them to that point, try to land a couple of higher value clients. I mean, some of you guys, if you're trying to rank guys that are only giving you $300 a month or something, just go to them and just flat out be like, that's not going to get you there. It can get you there short term, but I'm going to need a bigger budget in order to do things right. And that's just, there's no way around that. Eventually, it's getting more and more competitive.
Yep, and another suggestion that just came in from the questions that's very valuable and a very valid point for local guys is, you shouldn't just have one asset anyway. Like, you shouldn't just be trying to rank a website. Like, that's why we went through the whole Clevelander system. The whole point is that you're building 15 to 25 assets that are all going to rank, and in a future algorithm update, maybe they shuffle around, or maybe you lose a quarter of them or half of them. But, it's awesome. Like, you still have some left.
Yep. All right, what's the next slide?
All right, well, now we are going to ask people about if they need help implementing the system.
All right, go for it.
All right, so this is something that we've been working on now for about a week, trying to set up. That we've been working on it with Roger a little bit. For a lot of you guys, we've really kind of raised the bar of what's really expected for what we think you need in order for really good SEO. Like, honestly, everything we just said is our God's honest opinion. It's what we're going to try to do. It's what we're doing internally, and it's what we really think is true. But we know that a lot of you guys joined Link Emperor because you really wanted something that was 100% push button. You don't do anything. All you do is go and sell SEO packages all day, and you don't want to do any work at all. So what we're trying to do is put together a little program here where we're going to let you guys use our resources to build and maintain the kind of quality tier 1 sites that Roger was talking about. So basically all those social sites, all the buffer tiers, all of the Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Tumblr, all the blog buffer network sites that we're doing in partnership with Dory, basically building out using manual content, writing all of that tier 1. Obviously we're not saying you got to buy this from us, but there are certainly people on the questions that are interested in it. Oh, and they're saying linkemperor.com/Cleveland is not working. Uh-oh. That's not good.
Oh.
Well, let me see if I can fix that real quick.
Well, shit.
Well, shit indeed. Well, hold on. Bobby, take over while I fix that.
All right, sure. Yeah, so basically what it is we figured we were talking to Roger about all this stuff, and he has this pretty damn brilliant system that's been working very well. And obviously you guys you signed up for Link Emperor because you like a totally hands-off thing. What's going on? Sorry.
It's supposed to be /Clevelander.
Oh, yeah. That link is wrong, huh?
There we go. Fixed.
Yeah. So anyway, you should post that into the chat so people can just click on it.
All right.
So anyway, that obviously a lot of you guys, you're successful at selling to people. You don't want to have to deal with the back-end strategy and all that stuff. And so we talked to Roger, and he's really, really good at building out systems. Like he's managed offices of hundreds of people in the past. He's sold businesses and then he's started up doing it again. He's just an amazing office manager kind of thing. So we asked him, we were like, hey, Roger, do you think that you could take on, a decent amount of clients if some of our clients, we know we're going to have you on here. Do you have any interest in that? And he was like, well, yeah, it would have to be decently expensive because it's all original content, and this isn't his main business either, so whatever. But I think that we could get a really good system going here, and Roger's freaking awesome with this stuff. So if you'd like to have him manage this stuff for you, basically in person, fill out this form and let us know.
Well, just to be clear, you're not actually working with Roger. You're working with us. You still talk to our customer service. You're going to be talking. You're working with us. He's one of the guys we're using on the back end. But it's not like we're throwing you out to a vendor. Like you're still dealing with us. You're still buying from us. You can complain and yell at us if we screw up. And
exactly. And
it's our reputation on the line.
Yeah, we're taking responsibility for this thing. We're not like passing the buck over to Roger or something. It's 100% our thing, and he's going to be one of the guys that we're going to be working with. So if you're interested, fill out the form. Filling out the form does not mean that you have to do it by any means. In fact, we haven't even worked out the entire pricing or any of this stuff because we just came up with this idea like yesterday. So we just figured we'd gauge interest, and if you'd be interested in that sort of a system, fill out the form, and we'll reach out to you in person and figure out what you might be looking for, what you might need, and if we're a right fit. We might very well just not be a right fit, and then we'll say, hey, that's probably not the best solution. But I think we could probably make a number of clients happy because a lot of you guys are doing a similar strategy. We could kind of lump you guys together with a really smart, very extra safe strategy for a relatively decent price, considering you don't have to do any work.
Yeah, and again, we're not saying that this is something you have to buy or that Link Emperor is not going to be effective without it or anything like that. It's probably not for most of you. It's like there are probably 5 to 10 people on this call that this makes sense for out of the 150 that are on this call. We're literally only going to be taking 5 to 10 people in this first round though, because it's small. It's utilizing Roger's existing staff and some of our staff, and we're not it's not like a super built out thing. So it's basically an application process. We're going to find the ones that are a fit, and we're going to talk to you guys, and then we may expand it bigger. But basically the idea is apply if you think you're interested. What'll end up happening is we'll give you a phone call. We'll talk on the phone. We'll see if it makes sense, and if it does, we'll go forward.
Yep.
But this is not supposed to be like a big pitch. It's just like something we figure we'd offer, and we'll see if it works. And if it ends up working really well, we're gonna probably productize it more. But we'll see what happens.
All right. So all that said, the link is down there if you need it. Live Q&A. We will stay here late answering questions because we know a lot of you guys have really random questions, and there's tons of different things that could have happened or whatever. So if your question doesn't get through, we apologize, but we will stay here for a pretty darn long time. And also, Carson is totally briefed on all of this stuff. So if you want to talk to him in person in the next day or two, give him a call. Not tonight because obviously it's late and it's the middle of a webinar. But tomorrow or the next day, give him a call, and he can talk to you in person about specific stuff. Or Steve. Carson and Steve are both awesome. So all right, let's go through a couple questions real quick. You want to pick some out, Kevin?
Absolutely. First of all, Rob asks, hey, I just created a new campaign, but I'm not seeing target values. Yeah, a while ago we got rid of target values by default. In fact, they're probably particularly bad to use in the case of buffer sites because you really want to just be link building all of them, and you don't want to be trying to get too picky about how you link build those. So what I would do is not turn target values back on. If you need to learn how to turn target values back on, Carson can explain to you how to do that in the questions tab.
Yep. All right.
I mean, we did a webinar about that a while ago, but basically the idea is target values don't make a whole lot of sense when you're building to a buffer because the point is the buffer is not meant to rank. It's just meant to pass link juice.
Right. And it's kind of part of the way that, the software keeps evolving as we keep trying to accommodate different strategies and we try to get smarter as Google gets smarter. So target values work for certain types of sites, and they're definitely a way to turn it on because it might work for you for sure. But in terms of this particular strategy, it's not good. So on to the next question. What else we got?
Is it okay to blast Facebook pages directly with Link Emperor? Well, I think so.
Yeah.
Doing tiers adds a whole second layer if you want to try to do tiers to the Facebook page. And I'm not going to say that you shouldn't do that. It's probably not a bad idea. But we haven't heard of any cases where they've gotten penalized because of it.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook's one of the highest authority sites on the internet, if not, I mean, it's in the top 5 for sure. So definitely falls under that category. Next question.
All right. Let's see what we have here.
Oh, Ivan wants a list of 10 to 15 good Web 2.0 sites to make the Tier 1 sites out of.
Here, I'll just pull
we
that.
We have that on the other webinar, actually, so we'll just show it to you.
Yeah, give me a sec. I'll pull that one up.
All right, while he's doing that, Mike has another question. When you talk about burner sites, how long do you think would it take for a site that you go balls to the wall linking with no buffer to rank, and how long might it take for it to get penalized? Well, that's a totally tough question, and there's a lot of like play in there in terms of what do you mean by balls to the wall, and what do you mean by, or what's your timing? Because if like a penguin comes down, then it could come down at any time, I guess. But
well, I think a more important answer is that even if that's your strategy, you're still going to do better with an authority site. So why not use an iReport or a press release or something like that?
Well,
as
not
the target
always.
Of
sometimes the exact match domain strategy is actually a pretty good one for certain keywords. So if you've got an exact match domain, like say a new product comes out and you're an affiliate and you're trying to rank for like product X reviews, if you can get productxreviews.com or something that's very similar, then those tend to rank really well. And honestly, I don't have a perfect answer to that. I wish like Ryan Koyson was on here or something, because he does that all the time and makes a ton of money with that. But I mean, you can definitely make it a few months if you're doing a decent mix. If you're really hammering it, then you might not make it too long. So you got to kind of play the fence a little bit. So I would do some buffer tiers, and I would do some direct linking, and I would try to make sure that you're not doing too many like forum profiles and stuff like that, because those can tank a brand new site like before you ever even see it. So it's a tough question. You got to just kind of play around with it and find the sweet spot.
So that's another question. Someone's asking, are there any link types I should be avoiding outright, like forum profiles, blog commenting, etc.? This is a common dilemma that is faced among us as far as what to suggest for that, because we haven't seen any hard evidence to suggest that you should be avoiding one or the other. We've seen a lot of what I would call speculation, but nothing that's anywhere close to confirmed as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Yeah, honestly, I would steer mostly clear of blog comments and forum profiles if you're at all concerned. I wouldn't be building them direct to your money site for sure. And I mean, I think you can do probably just fine building them, or at least a reasonable amount of them, to authority sites. But I would always mix in the other stuff, because they just don't carry that much weight. So there's not a huge benefit, but they are really cheap. So I might toss in a couple just because I like the diversity. Let's see. Chase Bolter asks, is there any response to no-follow links in press releases? I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to there.
We don't. Our general response on no-follow links is that they're still useful links that count.
Yeah, well, I actually like no-follow links because we believe that they carry authority, even though Google says that they don't. And they're safer because Google, Google's got this whole thing where they're like, oh, we only go after, you should know, they say that you should no-follow the links if you think they're questionable or whatever. So, I mean, I like using no-follow links, and tons of them, because I think they still rank sites, and I think it's actually a little bit safer in Google's eyes. So I like it. And I also think that, I know that Google released that thing about press releases, like, I don't know, maybe a month or so ago. I am still seeing press releases working just fine, and I've been talking as recently. Well, I haven't looked in depth since Penguin 2.1 of press releases, but up as recently as 2 to 3 weeks ago, which was after that update that they made, we were still seeing press releases doing great. And as we just saw, on some of these largest keywords, we're still seeing news sites that are doing awesome. So I don't think I think press releases are still one of your best assets. Let's see. Next question. You got one you want to pull out, Kevin?
Matthew says, well, my site may be coming back. I noticed that it's bouncing back up. Should I go ahead and make these changes, or should I give it some time? I would potentially give it some time. Maybe wait another week or two and see what happens. I don't know. What do you think?
Wait, which one was it again? Sorry, I missed the first part.
It was
of that.
Matthew S.
Yes. Hold on. I gotta scroll up and find it. Oh, well, if you're still seeing improvements, I mean, I guess I would keep hanging in there for a little bit and see what happens. I don't know. That's a tough question. I mean, who knows? Honestly. But I would, I'd keep doing the same. Like, I'd keep doing, like, making the positive steps that you should. Don't stop your, keep doing the proper link building strategy going forward, but then just see what happens and see if hopefully it comes back pretty soon. Okay. Yeah, send us that screenshot, Matthew, and then maybe we'll give you some more in-depth advice.
Matthew, is it okay if I post it up showing the URL? Or do you want me to try to blur the URL? Okay, he doesn't mind. Okay.
All right, let's see what we got here.
All right.
All right, so tanninggrandrapids.net. That's a pretty good domain. So let's see what happened here. Got current rank. So some of them. All right, so let's see. Previous rank was mostly in the 30s and 50s, and now you've got a number of them coming back to like the number 10 spot. Yeah, I mean, I would switch to the safer strategy, and then I would wait it out for another couple weeks and see, and hopefully. I mean, here's the thing, though. You're not seeing any like 100+ penalties here or whatever. You're just seeing a lot of drops. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe some of your links got devalued. And
well, I don't know. I mean, some of these, like dropping from 2 to 41 is a pretty big thing, and then back to 5. I don't know.
Let's see, 2 to 40.
That's spray tan in Grand Rapids, MI.
1 month ago. Hold on. 1 month ago. Sorry, I'm not used to this format of rank checking.
Right.
Oh yeah, 2 to 41 to 5. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so you've also got a ton of these are on your homepage. So it's not a homepage penalty because you got a bunch of these keywords are ranking, for number 5 and number 10 and that sort of stuff. I would just follow the normal. That one page, tanninggrandrapids.net, it looks like that got, the tanning near you page that got hurt a little bit. I would say that one you might want to switch to just a new page and start over. That's probably what I would do. I don't know if it's a page penalty or not. You don't know, but I mean, that can't be like. I mean, I don't know. I think you'd probably be better off trying to switch that particular page. But it looks like your homepage is recovering pretty well. So yeah.
Yeah.
He said there was a 100 penalty in the beginning. So maybe the rank checking was just a little bit off or something. That's so interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to take a look at some of these things, but I mean, if
did you do anything like a disavow, or did you do any attempt to change this, or this is just naturally happened? Still waiting on a response.
Yeah, hold on. Oh, he says he hasn't touched it one bit. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would say stick to what you're doing right now.
I think this is an important example for everyone else to see, because it means that this is the perfect example of what we talk about when we say that you've got to wait a week or two after a big update, because sometimes things roll back.
Right. And there's something else that is, I don't know whether it's conspiracy theory or not, but there's a lot of people that have said, at least in the past, and they still kind of say it, is that sometimes people think that Google uses these updates as a shakeout to see whether people switch up their link building strategy right afterwards. And so if people, I don't know whether I subscribe to this or not, to be completely honest, but people say that, like, don't change your link building strategy for a couple weeks at least until you know for sure that you've got a permanent penalty, because a lot of the time maybe Google is just seeing whether there's a real irregularity in your link building pattern and just trying to shake those out. Personally, I don't know, but the fact that you said that you kept link building the same way that you were before and then your links came back, that's a good sign. So I don't know. I would keep up with it and see, just keep checking in on it.
Yeah, and the other thing that I would kind of add is just that a lot of times Google may have just over tweaked a parameter and then decided to back it off. You know.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's definitely what happens all the time, for sure. Let's do
But
some other question.
I would also take it as a signal that you may be on the borderline of Penguin right now, and maybe they decided that you're not in it for 2.1 anymore, but you might still end up in it in 2.2. And what I would take the lesson here is to start building additional assets, you know,
Mm-hmm.
using the new strategies.
Yeah, or at least go more conservative. Yeah. Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Let's see. What else we have? Got any other questions? Sam Billings asks, should our parasites be using primary keyword for anchor text or mix them up as well? I would definitely be mixing up your keywords. I would not do all primary keyword for anything that's pointing to your money site. So what I like to do is I would take like those 25 parasites, right, or whatever, if you're using the Clevelanders strategy, and I would just use each one of those. I would do as like one different variation of your overall keyword list. And then when you're linking into those individual pages, mix it up again, but you're probably gonna have a lot more links pointing in there. So just make sure you keep varying things up all the time. Don't do anything that's like totally static.
All right. So Thomas asked, what is our opinion of Matthew Woodward's tutorial for Link Emperor? And do we agree with it? My answer is I have nothing negative at all to say about Matthew Woodward. I think he's fine. I think he's good. The one thing that I would suggest is, the biggest thing is I haven't actually watched that recently, but just keep the whole authority thing in mind because, if you're doing direct linking, you better have authority to the thing you're direct linking. Otherwise, you have to do this kind of buffer tier we're talking about, or else you might find yourself in a penalty. But I think everything else that he says is pretty spot on.
Yep. Rob Lopez asks, will the cheat sheet be provided to us by email? And the answer is yes. Once we hopefully get that from Roger, I think we'll send that out to everybody.
Yes, and Robert, Bobby and I are on like an airplane the majority of tomorrow, so it might not actually be tomorrow, but it'll be soon.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's see. What else we have?
Let's go back to this. Someone asked for a list of popular authority sites to use. We've put this page on the screen here.
Yep, those are all good ones.
This is very much a partial list.
SoundCloud is another really good one that I think we've noticed since we made this list.
Forbes.com is a good one.
All right, the Forbes.com stuff. Also, if you can get on Huffington Post, that's really awesome. Not that easy, but it's definitely done pretty commonly.
Yeah. But that's the kind of stuff that's going to really set you apart as a local marketer is if you can actually get on Huffington Post and get on Forbes and things like that. Like your job just becomes like exponentially easier once you do that,
Yep. A couple other ones. Eric's posting a few in here. Rebel Mouse, Clout, Scoop.it, and also another really good one is About.me. I've seen a lot of people using About.me really successfully. Also, our friend Ezra uses that all the time. Let's see what else we have. How did these questions disappear? What happened? Did someone just post a massive question in here? Oh my god. This list of someone posted like a 100 site long list in here and completely spammed out our questions.
I don't even see it. I wonder if it's broke mine. That's weird. Okay.
Yeah, it broke a little bit.
What do we think about?
Sorry, Brian, I can't read that right now because it kind of broke our question list. All right.
What do we think about EDU and GovLinks? Honestly, nothing particularly excellent about them. I mean, they're good.
They're good. They're high authority links generally, so if you can get them, use them. That's pretty much all I would say. Let's see.
Brian asks, was the build no direct links advice for people who were already hit or for all sites in general? I mean, the real answer to that is depends on your risk factor. If you promise to never come and bitch to us that your site got banned, then it is totally fine for you to build them to your money site, But if you're at all concerned about that, then we would recommend that you not, if it's a low authority site.
I mean, my answer would be link building going forward. You should follow the proper best practices. I mean, whatever you were doing in the past, I say you'd probably be smarter to tighten it up a little bit, because if you weren't hitting this one, but you're kind of riding the line, you may want to, if you're okay with riding the line, that's fine. But if you're not, then tighten up and start using something more like the Clevelander thing. Jeff asks, how many keywords should we be blasting to each parasite? That's a tough question. I would actually like to, I bet that Roger has that outlined in his list, so I'd be interested to see what his opinion is on that. But I would mix it up just like you've been mixing it up to your current money sites. So, use a ton of different keywords and try to vary up and try to mix in synonyms and stuff, because you can't be hurt by that. But if you want to try and go a level deeper, you could like do different parasites based on keyword trees. And so you could make one parasite for, or a couple different parasites for each keyword tree, and then keep the keywords that you're linking to those being the related keywords that are lower down on that keyword tree. Because you want to theme out the your parasites the same as you would theme out a website, because Google still pays attention to all that stuff, especially if you're trying to rank one of those, if you're trying to rank your parasites individually. So always think about what is the theme of this page and how can I mix up the keywords so that it makes sense, so that they're all kind of related within that theme.
And I just threw up a picture of a cat just for fun.
That is a beautiful breaded cat.
My favorite is that the name of this image is Cat Breading Tutorial 04.jpg.
Oh my god. All right, let's answer some more questions. What else we got? Let's see.
All right, so someone asked, this is actually a really legitimate question, and we haven't even gotten to it at all. Lucas asks, how well do buffers actually work? Do they really pass link juice?
Well, take a look at those rankings that Roger has. I mean, take a look at the rankings that tons of our people have. Yeah, they absolutely pass link juice.
And
I mean, Roger literally doesn't build links from anything if it doesn't go through a buffer site, and he hasn't done it for I don't know how long, but at least over a year, if not longer. They completely pass link juice.
And the key is that it's because there are authority sites. Big key.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, if you're passing all your link juice through like a blog comment or through a forum profile, it's not going to have nearly the effect of passing all your link juice through something that's a PR9.
All right. How many tiers go?
All right. How many tiers can you go? The answer is a lot of people are going real deep. I mean, I've seen people go, well, I don't know about a lot of people, but I've seen people going as deep as like 10 tiers. And so it really
Robert Adler from Microsite Masters got up at PubCon or at Affiliate Summit and claims that he goes to 10 tiers.
So that leaves a ton of questions in my mind if you're trying to figure that out, which is what's the optimal amount of links to build to each tier? How wide should they be versus how tall are they? And honestly, I do not have there's just so many variables in there that you would have to test that we don't have like the resources right now to figure that out. But the fact is, it does look like Google really follows that link juice for a long time. And so if you want to be safer and safer, you can definitely add more tiers than what we said on this webinar.
Yeah, so Daniel asked, don't you waste a lot of link juice with 10 tiers? I think so. My biggest thing is I think we should I'm all about using the minimal amount of effort that works. You know what I mean? Like, we shouldn't be like spending extra effort to achieve some immunity to a disease that we're not sure if it exists in the future. Like I'm not a big fan of spending a lot of extra budget on attempting to guess what the next penalty might go after, if that makes sense.
Well, of course. I mean, I would just say, obviously, it's a business that you're running and you're trying to get the most results for the least amount of money spent. So it all depends on what your guess is at that point, because I'm not going to try and blow smoke up your ass and say that I have some like great numbers on that. But if you're going to go to that level or try to, please do some experiments and see what's working for you, because don't just blindly go wasting a bunch of links at a ton of tiers. But it's definitely something that people could look into. Let's see what else we have. Hold on. Let me go actually run to the bathroom and take a piss. We'll be back in 2
All
seconds.
right, I'll keep
Take this
answering
one.
questions here.
Okay.
How do you stop a buffer from ranking? Why would you want to, Paul? The whole idea is that having these buffers rank is great because it's more traffic. Lucas says, "Bring the mic." That's gross. Are high PR links still important? I mean, yeah, we think they are. I mean, that's just a way of getting authority into your site. It's one way of getting authority into your site. We also think that you can get authority into your site by building out these big social sites, like building out a LinkedIn profile that's really well developed and backlinked to. We think is pretty equivalent of doing a high PR link. All right, Harvey's taking off for the night. Thanks for attending us. So as far as buffers go, I mean, I would just go, what I would do is, the tier that you're going to hand build and then do either one more tier, like either direct link to that or do one more tier. I wouldn't go any crazier than that because at the end of the day, it just gets crazy to try to maintain. Should I blast my Google Plus pages? Yeah, blast them directly. I think that works. We've seen that work. That seems to work well. I just want to clarify another thing. I just had a message in Skype. I don't think this person is on this chat right now. Just want to clarify. But I heard a message of people basically saying, Link Emperor guys are now admitting that their system sucks, and that is completely not what we're saying. I just want to really clarify that. The whole point is that you just got to be redirecting everything through high authority sites. So Rob says, I'm not 100% sure on the system. I hope that the cheat sheet clarifies everything. The cheat sheet will be cool, but the biggest key is that you're redirecting every mass link. Mass linking never touches low authority. Mass linking only touches high authority. High authority touches low authority, if that makes sense, right?
Yep. I'm back, by the way.
All right.
What's going on? All right. How we doing?
We're doing well. Are we building the same types of links to both tiers? As far as I'm concerned, we're building mass links to all the high authority stuff, and we're not building it to our money site, if that makes sense. Will asks, can I build my own network with PR 2 to 3 expired domains? You can.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
The biggest
there's a ton of people that do that.
Biggest thing is make sure that they're hosted separately. You can use cloakhosting.com for that. Actually, can you sign up for that now?
I think so. I don't know.
You're gonna want to use cloakhosting.com for all of your SEO hosting for that, basically. What Cloak Hosting does, are you guys familiar with this? Cloak Hosting is really cool. It's really meant for building your own networks. Here's what they do. They're not like SEO hosting like most SEO companies where it's like you get 25 IPs, but they're all in the same data center. What they actually do is they covertly go out behind the scenes and sign up for just cPanel hosting accounts from hundreds of different companies. So when you get your 50 different IPs, they're 50 different IPs that are legitimately different. We just pasted it in the chat, cloakhosting.com. They're not dedicated IPs. It's just like being on a HostGator where your IP is shared with someone else, but the point is that you're getting on 50 different HostGator type things from one purchase.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty brilliant. All right. Other questions? Let's see what else we got. If you got more questions, hit them with us. Or hit us with them. See, coffee's got me rearranging words and stuff.
Brent said it's been a lot of fun. Thank you, Brent. Your comments have really made my night as well, so I really appreciate it. Have a good evening as well. Daniel, are we vouching for Cloak Hosting? The guy who owns it is a good friend of ours. He lives in Las Vegas, and I'm not gonna like promise that we're gonna like, guarantee that if there's a problem, we'll personally go go talk to him about it. But he's a really good guy, smart guy. He has a smart team. I know a lot of people that use it. So yeah, I mean, it is something that we recommend.
It just seems to me like the smartest solution right now for if you're hosting your own sites or your own networks. And they really go out of their way to make sure that everything's diversified. So I would go with it if I was building a network for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's not like super cheap. It's like $2 a site or something like that, but it's way better. I mean, even if it was, the value is that you don't have to go buy all these hosting accounts separately. So it's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Another question from Kenny. Would you recommend setting up or purchasing a private blog network using something like Cloak Hosting? The answer is maybe. I think it makes sense for a lot of people if you've got a certain number of customers. It's one of those, or like a certain number of clients or a certain amount of money that you're making online or a certain number of websites that you're trying to rank.
It all comes down to budget.
There's a lot of variables. Yeah, but like for instance, if you're going out there and you're renting links off of a forum from somebody who's providing private blog network services, and you're spending a decent amount of money at it, especially, then I would definitely go and look at potentially trying to build your own network, because it's going to save you money, and it's also going to be a longer lasting solution probably, because you're less likely for your own private network to get found out than one of these ones that's advertising on the forums. So that's just something that you kind of got to look at, but maybe it's something that would make sense for you to split with another buddy of yours or something like that. You just got to be super careful that you don't make any mistakes when you're doing it. If you don't know how to do it right, you gotta figure that stuff out. Let's see.
So Greg asks if we're going to be at Yonex Underground next year. The answer to that is maybe. Bobby will probably certainly be there.
Yeah, I'll be there for sure.
And if you guys are there, we are going to do another one of these Link Emperor like happy hours, either at Underground or at Traffic and Conversion Summit. Probably Traffic and Conversion Summit again this year. So hopefully we get to meet more of you guys.
Yeah, it was great meeting people last year. Let's see. If Rob asks if I buy a domain with high PR, if trying to rank to my keyword, I'm confused. Hold on. This is English. Let me see. If trying to rank to my keyword will lower the PR. I am not sure what that means. I'm sorry. Rephrase it if you can, and I'll try again. Thanks, Greg, for stopping by. Good talking to you. Let's see. Any thoughts on NicheJet? I don't know. I've never heard of that. Let's see what else we got. Jeanette asks, do we need different Webmaster Tool accounts for our websites, Blogspot, blogs, etc.? Don't use Google Analytics type stuff. Well, I've always used Google Analytics. I know a lot of people say that you shouldn't use it, but I don't know. I've always used it for my sites, and I've had some very successful sites that have stood the test of time using Google Analytics. So I mean, they've said plenty of times that they don't mix their spam team with their Google Analytics team because they don't want people to not trust Google Analytics. And honestly, they need that data really bad. So I think that they probably wouldn't want to take the risk of mixing and matching that stuff. That's why I trust it. I just think it would be a stupid conflict of interest for them to go blasting people who are using Google Analytics, because it's one of their most valuable tools. And so it's probably pretty smart for them to keep that separate.
Well, the reality is they also sell it to enterprise customers for a lot of money. Like, we get Google Analytics for free, but people like, Sears.com is spending millions of dollars on Google Analytics, and if they thought there was even a chance it would hurt them, that revenue would be gone.
That's definitely true. Different Webmaster Tool accounts for your different websites? God, a lot of people would say yes, but it all depends on the amount of money and the amount of time you want to spend. Like if it's something that's really valuable to you, then I would probably try to split it out if you can. But you've also got to realize that if you ever log into it with the same IP as another Webmaster Tools account, those two are going to be joined together, and there's a lot of different ways that Google can try and associate those things if they really wanted to. So if you're going to try to go through the pain in the ass of splitting up different Webmaster Tool accounts, then I would say be extremely careful and do it right if it's worth it to you. There's also, I think Bing offers something too. So I know some people definitely use the Bing solution instead and just try and keep it separate.
This is another really interesting point, by the way, that I want to that we haven't mentioned at all. None of these penguin penalties at all have hit Bing. If you were doing well on Bing before, you should still be doing really well on Bing. We got to remember that Bing is not zero. Like Bing is still like 20 to 25% of the traffic or more, depending on the niche. I was just checking a big, I have a very tech IT heavy niche that you would expect to be all Google. It's still 25% of this traffic comes from Bing. So I think that's important just to realize. And it's another really good thing to explain to your clients too. Like if your clients ever give you shit, like you got to explain to your clients too, like, well, you still rank on Bing and Yahoo. And it's like for a dentist, that's still excellent,
Well, the other thing is that Bing traffic tends to convert better for a lot of people. So it's really more than like a 25% if you're looking at conversions sometimes. So, I mean, it's really no consolation overall, but I mean, yeah, Bing is actually pretty cool. They don't really try and screw with SEOs like Google does, and we know at least one guy who's been to Bing headquarters and actually talked to them, and they're kind of open arms about inviting SEOs to work on their system and stuff because I don't know, they just want to differentiate themselves from Google. Let's see. All right, Eric, just wanted you to know. Let's see. We've got 2 sites that went to the top 1 to 2 keyword for money terms in the last couple of months, only backlinking with Link Emperor in local. Sweet. Yeah, I mean, there's literally tons of people who have still been having success with just using a lot of buffers and stuff. It's just that it really depends on what your settings were in terms of individual links. Like, where did you have your buffers set? I mean, if you had them closer to like 90, 95%, you're probably a lot better off on this, but there's just a lot of factors in there. I think the keyword density is stuff, and it all plays in, like we said. Alex Pavlenko, do you know the method of buying higher PR domains and redirecting it to my money site domain? How effective is that? I personally don't do that, so I don't know how effective it is, but I definitely have heard of people doing it, and some people have said that it works. But that's all I could really speak to. That's not my my gig. Let's see. Will Alvarez says, do you have strategies for building up your domain level authority and your trust level? Well, yeah. The best strategy would be linked networks, and particularly, I mean, building out your own linked network is probably easy. There's also buying homepage links, which a ton of people do. You can definitely buy them through tons of different vendors, and also you actually build up authority by doing this Clevelander strategy. It just it's all like 6 in one, half dozen in the other.
Well, yeah, the Clevelander strategy builds up authority very well. I mean, that's essentially what it is designed to do. Like, that's the whole kind of idea behind it.
Right. Daryl says thanks. Thanks for stopping by, Daryl. Let's see. Jeanette says, I had an SEO guy tell me today to take off the meta keywords off my site to rank better, as Google isn't using them and could be penalizing me for using that field in my header. True or not true? I would say not true at all.
It is. Well, it is true that Google doesn't use them, but
yeah, Google does not.
Bing, I believe, does use them, so it's not advisable to take it off.
Exactly. Yeah, Bing does use them. Google does not. Google has many times said that they don't use them, but Google would never penalize someone for using that tag because it's still accepted HTML. There's nothing wrong with it. So Google would never go and penalize somebody just for using like a normal tag of HTML. They might penalize someone if you were keyword stuffing a ton of different keywords in there. So that's one thing that they've actually come out and said that they could penalize for. So as long as you use it normally, you're totally fine.
Yeah, right. Just make sure that it's not stuffed like ridiculously. It should just be, there shouldn't be more than 5 or so keywords, 5 to 10 keywords in there. It has a length limit. Just look at what the length limit is and make sure you're not going over that.
Yeah, no more keywords than you would normally try to use on a page. Anyway, or try to target with like a title tag and stuff like that. Rob asks, if I buy a domain with high Google PR, currently for tanning, for example, if I make it a website for roofing, for example, I guess that, if I make it a website
so he's talking about basically buying a domain, completely redoing the content, and asking if the PR will stay the same.
Oh, yes, there are actually people that I was hearing about just the other day who are doing that. So I'm pretty sure that would work. The only thing is you got to make sure if you're make sure you're directing your pages properly and all that stuff. I don't know if you're planning on changing the URLs or not, but if you are, then you need to do a 301 redirect or something to make sure you don't lose the link juice going to the individual URLs. Let's see. Yeah, Matthew Stafford says that works well. He just has been recently doing it.
I'm not sure what you just said, Daniel. Can you explain that better?
Yeah, I didn't get the end of that question.
Oh, I see what he's saying. He's saying that you could, if you wanted to just try to be sneaky, you could try to combine the niches and
incorporate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I definitely think you could probably get away with that. Yeah, so like if you got a roofing site and you want to turn it to tanning, then you can say you can change the content around a little bit to say that this is a roofing site for tanning companies or something weird like that. And I mean, it might not make a ton of sense, so it might not pass a manual review, but if you're switching something around like that anyway, it might not pass anyway, so I don't know. But yeah, that's not a bad idea. E-Rock says nude roof tanning. I think that's a brilliant idea. Let's see. Any other questions? What else we got? Keep them coming if you got them.
Yeah, I mean, we have now been talking for almost 5 hours straight. It's pretty crazy. Although you think about it, this is like what high school teachers do all day.
That is really funny, actually. Although they probably build up some sort of immunity to it.
Well, they give like the same lecture 3 times in a row, which has got to be even worse.
That's got to be miserable. Yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing too many other questions flowing in, so if anybody's got them, then toss them out. Otherwise, we may try to wrap this up. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks, Ed, for sticking around with us for 5 hours. That's awesome. Hope you learned a lot.
We're definitely going to wrap this up. Go ahead. We'll do that last one.
Alex asks, what is the ratio of a link and content on a page? I'm not sure what you're asking there exactly. Do you understand, Kevin? The ratio of...
No, please ask again. Ask again
in Please retype that somehow. A step-by-step... Oh, wait. That's a different question.
Yes, so what we're going to be doing is updating our training videos to kind of cover the changes. And that is definitely something we're going to do. Jeanette asks, do we work on sites ourselves or can we refer people? The answer is that we do not work on sites ourselves unless your budget is north of $50,000 a month, which I'm assuming yours is not. But we have plenty of people we can refer you to. Just email us.
Yeah, send an email into support and we'll give you a referral or something.
But tell us details about like what you are. Do you have clients? What's your budget? That kind of stuff.
What's your budget? Like, what are you looking to accomplish? That sort of thing. Because different people are good at different types of sites, obviously. Sweet. Thanks for stopping by, Rob. I really appreciate the kind words. Paul French asks, do you stop link building to a parasite when it settles at number 1? For the most part, you pull back a decent amount. In fact, and I've got some parasites that I haven't link built to for close to a year that are still ranking at number 1, but I did slam the hell out of them with links back in the day. So, I mean, it's really a question of, you can definitely pull back for a while. If it's really valuable to you, I would maybe maintain like 5 to 10% of the link building that you were doing initially. But if you're fine with letting it slip for a little while and chancing it, you can stop the link building, and then if you see it slip, you could always go back and turn on the funnel for a little while longer and try to get it back up there. So that's kind of it depends on the keyword and it depends on the authority of the page and all that stuff. Let's see. All right. Thanks guys for stopping by. It looks like everybody's pretty much out of questions.
All right, so. Yeah. Thanks, guys. We'll let you all get to bed. The East Coast, it's like almost 1 a.m. right now.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. I hope this helped.
Yeah. If you guys have any feedback, questions, comments, email them in. You guys know that we're support at Link Emperor. We're always happy to look at your sites. You can give Carson a call. Don't do it now because he probably wants to go to bed too, but do it tomorrow or Thursday or something.
All
All
right.
right.
Awesome. We'll mail this out as soon as we can. It might be 2 days from now because, like we said, we're going to be on an airplane like all day tomorrow, going to a foreign country. But we'll do this as soon as possible, and we'll try to send Roger's guide because that sounds awesome. All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right.
Good night, Eric.
Take care.
Night, guys. Night, Eric.